Chapter 293, In 1 Year. Chapter 293, In 1 Year. In the Tang dynasty, there was a prefecture called Ninth Heaven Mansion, which was one of the 21 large prefectures. In the mansion, there was a force named Thousand Nether Palace, the master of which was a half-saint expert named Huiyu. He ranked 138th on the Bloodmoon list, much lower than Wushuang, who was killed by Jian Wushuang. Among the half-saint experts, Huiyu was at the bottom of the pile. In the Thousand Nether Palace, a middle-aged man with purple hair, wearing a purple robe, lay on a bed at ease, with 2 beautiful maids serving him, fine food, and even fine wine within his reach. Suddenly, boom! A fierce and loud thunder sound was heard throughout the palace, followed by a low voice. "You sure are comfortable, Huiyu." Hearing the voice, Huiyu's expression changed quickly. With a move, he reappeared up in the air and saw the uninvited visitor. The visitor was wearing a red robe and a red wicked mask on his face, with a long sword in hand. The man's overwhelming killing intent brought an icy cold feeling to the palace. "Who are you?" Huiyu stared at the visitor, frowning. He was a bit scared of the killing intent he sensed from the man. "You can call me Nan," Jian Wushuang's slaughtered doppelganger replied and continued, "I came here to battle with you. Let's start fighting." "Ha, ridiculous. How dare you, a nameless man, not even on the Bloodmoon list, come here to challenge me?" Huiyu said and smiled coldly. "All I have to do is kill you and my name will be added to the list." With no more words, the slaughtered doppelganger began to attack. "You're courting death." Furious, Huiyu began to directly battle with the slaughtered doppelganger. Just a short while later, the battle was settled. The half-saint expert, Huiyu, was killed on the spot. The next day, a new name, Nan, as well as his battle results for killing Huiyu, was listed on the revised Bloodmoon list. Jian Wushuang's slaughtered doppelganger, Nan, wandered around the Tang dynasty, challenging experts everywhere. In terms of strength, the slaughtered doppelganger was weaker than Jian Wushuang's true body, but just a little. But, since the doppelganger could also display the skills that Jian Wushuang mastered, like sword realm, in addition to carrying the triple-kill sword with him, he was able to kill ordinary half-saint experts. Most of all, the slaughtered doppelganger was comprehending slaughter origin, which required a lot of meditation in killing. However, comprehending world origin didn't require this, so Jian Wushuang could carry on his comprehension leisurely, by himself. This was also the reason why Jian Wushuang had separated himself from the slaughter doppelganger. The doppelganger comprehended the slaughter origin by killing in different areas, while Jian Wushuang himself sat down to comprehend world origin in the Heartless sect. The two kinds of comprehension were going on simultaneously, yet independently. In this way, he was yielding twice the results. How time flies! From spring to winter, 1 year had passed. During the year, several staggering events had happened in the Skywave Prefecture. The first event was the demise of Demon's Island. Its territory had been annexed by the Heartless sect and 2 other forces. Having gotten the most benefits from the demise, the Heartless sect had become the most powerful force in the Skywave Prefecture due to both the master of Heartless sect as well as Jian Wushuang, who ranked 99th on the Bloodmoon list. The second event was the sharp rise of the Willow Leaf School, an organization established by the half-saint expert Lu Yi. It took the place of the Demon's Island, becoming one of the great 4 forces in the Skywave Prefecture. Outshining the other 2 forces, it almost stood on equal footing with the Heartless sect. The third one was the fall of the Willow Leaf School. After Lu Yi was killed, the Heartless sect swallowed up the entire domain of the school, and without difficulty, it soon eradicated another force. At last, the Heartless sect was recognized as the top force in the prefecture. All 3 of these events had caused huge sensations, especially the last one. The sect master of the school, Lu Yi, was very strong enough to be listed in the top 100 on the Bloodmoon list. After its sharp rise and before its demise, the school had provoked the Heartless sect and the 2 sects had engaged in battle many times. Lu Yi had even fought head-on with the master of Heartless Sect and almost killed him. After surviving the battle, the master of Heartless Sect came back and personally asked Jian Wushuang for help. He had planned to cooperate with Jian Wushuang and fight against Lu Yi. But, on the night that he asked for help, Jian Wushuang broke into the Willow Leaf School alone. Most of the experts of the school, even Sect Master Lu Yi, were all killed by Jian Wushuang that night. For a time, the whole Skywave Prefecture was in shock. The next day, Jian Wushuang's ranking on the Bloodmoon list was revised, raising it to 86th. After that night, no forces in the Skywave Prefecture dared to provoke the Heartless Sect. There was a lake outside the Heartless City, remote and unfrequented. Since Jian Wushuang first went there half a year ago, he had been there every single day, fishing by the lake. Along with him were 2 experts. The sun was going down, and the whole world was quiet. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes, feeling the peace around him. He enjoyed it very much. In such tranquility, he was able to comprehend the world origin much more efficiently. In the recent half-year, he seemed to spend every single day fishing there. But, instead of fishing, he was actually concentrating on comprehending the world origin. During the fishing, he had made great progress in comprehending the world origin. Though his comprehension was still at the level of momentum, he had still made good progress. Momentum could be used to activate the origins of heaven and earth. But, how much of the origin could be applied depending on the individual's level of comprehension? Although Jian Wushuang had already reached this level and was able to use the origins, he could only apply 2/10 of them. After a year of comprehending them, he now could apply at least 8/10. There was no doubt that the power behind 8/10 of the origin was much stronger than that of 2/10. Besides, his cultivation had broken through from the initial Yang Void Realm to the profound Yang Void Realm during the year. Any breakthrough in the Yang Void Realm could make a huge difference in one's strength. Jian Wushuang reaching the profound realm, together with his progress in comprehending the origin, made him much more powerful than before. Chapter 294, The Unexpected Trouble. Chapter 294, The Unexpected Trouble. Swish. Sitting by the lake, Jian Wushuang raised the fishing rod and pulled a big carp out of the water. He took the fish off the fishhook and put it in his basket. The 2 men standing behind him were Tai Shan and Mo Ying. They had been on good terms with Jian Wushuang since his time in the 9th team, and they had been by his side ever since Jian Wushuang became the first protector of the Heartless Sect. "Protector, you got a big haul today," Tai Shan said with a smile. "Not bad." Jian Wushuang nodded. Looking up into the sky, he continued, "It's getting late. Let's go back." He stood up, carried the rod on his shoulder, and then headed toward the Heartless City with Tai Shan and Mo Ying. Before they had gotten far, Jian Wushuang suddenly stared up into the air, where a figure was rapidly rushing forward. From the looks of it, it was a thin young girl. "Oh, no. They're catching up with me, but it will be some time before sister arrives. What should I do?" The small figure was running as fast as she could, as if she was escaping from some horrible thing. Just then she noticed Jian Wushuang and the others below. Her eyes glinted as she dived toward them. "You 3 there, help! Help!" yelled the small figure that was crying while flying. "Stop right there." Tai Shan and Mo Ying stepped in front of Jian Wushuang and stopped the girl. "You little beggar, get out of our way!" Tai Shan shouted coldly. Jian Wushuang studied the girl. It was not an overstatement to call the girl a beggar. Clothes tattered, hair scattered, and muddied all over. This 15 or 16-year-old girl looked much like a beggar. But Jian Wushuang, Tai Shan, and Mo Ying all understood that in the Tang dynasty, the country of death, even a beggar could be a strong expert. Moreover, this dirty girl came to them while void walking, which meant she was not an ordinary expert. "Please, some people are chasing me. Please hold them off for a moment. Here, I got this interspatial ring from a half-saint expert, and I'll give it to you as long as you help me," the little girl begged. Raising his eyebrows, Jian Wushuang subconsciously looked at the interspatial ring, and through his consciousness, he saw lots of treasures and purple crystal spiritual liquid inside. It's true, Jian Wushuang said with an odd expression. There was a large amount of treasures and purple crystal spiritual liquid in the ring, comparable to all the property that one half-saint expert would normally own. What confused Jian Wushuang was how this little girl had gotten the ring from a half-saint expert. Jian Wushuang didn't respond to the girl's request. He stared off into the distant sky, where a dozen people were rushing toward them. They're coming. The girl looked frightened. Quickly, those people arrived in the air above them, with a black-clothed elder as their leader. A half-saint. Jian Wushuang's expression changed a little when he saw the elder. Led by a half-saint, even every single man of the group was at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. It was very rare to see such a battle formation in Skywave Prefecture. The black-clothed elder looked down and his eyes immediately fell on the little girl. "Boy, give that girl to us," the elder shouted. Jian Wushuang glanced at him and said, "She is right there, get her if you want to. We have no business here." "Oh." The elder lifted his eyebrow. "Let's go," Jian Wushuang said to Tai Shan and Mo Ying, starting to head back, not even sparing a second glance at the little girl or the elder. Tai Shan and Mo Ying followed him. The girl became anxious, but she suddenly had an idea and shouted, "Hey, how could you just leave me alone like this after I gave you that treasure?" Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Sure enough, upon hearing the girl's words, the elder swooped down and blocked Jian Wushuang's way. "Boy, she gave it to you?" the elder asked coldly. "No," Jian Wushuang replied. "Liar. You promised me that you would stop them if I gave that treasure to you, and I did. But now, seeing they're strong, you chickened out." The girl pretended to be angry. "Boy, hand it over," the elder yelled. "I won't say it again. She didn't give me anything." Coldness flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. "Didn't she?" the elder sneered. "Well then, you three, give me your interspatial rings and let me check through them. I'll let you go if it's not in them." "Check my interspatial ring." Jian Wushuang gave him a smile as chilling as a blade. "I'm afraid you are in no position to do that. You are courting death." Shouting, the elders started moving and crossed the distance between them in an instant. An explosive sound was heard as the space in front of Jian Wushuang shattered, and a palm containing a powerful force aimed for Jian Wushuang's head. Jian Wushuang was provoked. "Piss off." Not bothering to use his sword, Jian Wushuang clenched his hand into a fist. Terrifying power was gathered inside it, and then it was thrown at the elder. This blow, containing the power of the world origin, caused the whole area to tremble. Boom! The elder was blown away by the power and was forced to retreat a few hundred meters before he regained his balance. How can this be possible? The elder was shocked. He is just in the profound Yang Void Realm. While the elder was thinking, a name emerged in his mind. In the profound Yang Void Realm, long sword on his back, quite young, your swordsman. The elder called out. Even though Jian Wushuang was only in the profound Yang Void Realm, he was ranked 86th on the Bloodmoon list, which made him somewhat famous. As soon as the elder learned of Jian Wushuang's strength, he recognized him immediately. "Now that you know who you're fighting with, why don't you piss off with your men right now?" Mo Ying shouted. "Humph, swordsman." Looking gloomy, the elder turned to Jian Wushuang and said, "I know that you have won some fame in the Skywave Prefecture, but I didn't know that you had the nerve to stick your hand in the business of the mansion master." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help squinting. Chapter 295, Sister. Chapter 295, Sister. Mansion Master. Although there were many forces in the Tang dynasty, all of them would intentionally avoid naming themselves with mansion. The Tang dynasty was divided into 21 large prefectures, and in each prefecture there was one real top expert acting as the mansion master. Normally, it was an expert of the Saint Realm. In Skywave Prefecture, the only one that could be referred to as Mansion Master was, of course, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. They are from the Skywave Prefecture. Looking at the elder, Jian Wushuang pulled a long face. The Heartless sect was recognized as the top force in the Skywave Prefecture, but the prefecture itself was not included in the ranking. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was a half-saint, like the black-clothed elder. But, in truth, his strength surpassed ordinary half-saints. On the Bloodmoon list, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture ranked 21st, even though he was just a half-saint. All the experts who ranked 22th to 27th on the Bloodmoon list were in the Saint Realm, but even they ranked lower than the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. Which meant the man was stronger than ordinary experts of the Saint Realm. That was why he could become a master of a prefecture and the overlord of the region. Jian Wushuang never thought that this little girl was from the Skywave Prefecture, and he would have had nothing to do with this if the girl had not made up a story saying that she handed over something to him. Worst of all, those Skywave Prefecture's guys believed her story. Boy, now that you know we are from the Skywave Prefecture, you should give that thing to me immediately. Otherwise, our Mansion Master will burn you and the Heartless sect into ash with his anger, said the elder in a cold voice. Jian Wushuang shot a glance at the elder and said, "Are all the people in the Skywave Prefecture as stupid as you? I told you several times already that she didn't give me anything. Believe whatever the hell you like, but if you want to solve this with violence, I don't mind playing it to the bone." Jian Wushuang's voice was extremely cold. Skywave Prefecture. So what? He didn't want to expose himself to them, but it didn't mean that he feared their lord. The elder looked sullen, and his killing intent soared. "Whatever, in no way will I let you just walk away. Take the girl, and kill them all." Following the order, the experts led by the elder went straight toward Jian Wushuang and the others to kill them. "You too, be careful when fighting with them," Jian Wushuang said toward Tai Shan and Mo Ying. The two looked solemn, ready to fight. However, the girl hid behind Jian Wushuang, and spoke in a low voice, "Just a moment. Please hold them off. My sister is coming here, and when she arrives, they'll have no hold on you." "Humph, you're so cunning, I'm sure your sister will be too." Jian Wushuang gave the girl a dark look. This whole thing should have nothing to do with him, but now he was involved for such a ridiculous reason. This girl really had caused him some unexpected trouble, so he was not going to give her a kind look. The elder and his men started attacking. "Get the hell out of my way," Jian Wushuang thundered. He drew out his sword, and when he held it up, an overwhelming power burst out. As he swung the sword at his opponents, the surroundings seemed to be stirred by his sword. This blow was overwhelming and swept over everything. Seeing this blow, the elder could not help being frightened. He immediately shouted, "Quick, work together and stop him." The experts from the Skywave Prefecture all tried their best to block Jian Wushuang's attack, and they made it, but only just barely. The blow cast all of them away. No way. So powerful. Jesus. The elder and the experts from the Skywave Prefecture were stunned. As far as they could see, Jian Wushuang was much stronger than an ordinary half-saint. "I didn't use my full strength in that blow," Jian Wushuang's cold voice resounded throughout the area. It was true. He just used the power of the origin and the fifth move of the selfless sword technique in that blow. Since he didn't display the sword realm, it was indeed an attack with reservations. Hearing this, the black-clothed elder stood there while hesitating. But right at that moment, the whole world suddenly came to a standstill. The wind lulled and the raindrops froze in the air. Jian Wushuang, the black-clothed elder, and the others in the area felt like they couldn't breathe. They were barely able to keep a clear mind, yet unable to move even a bit. Time seemed to stand still. What's going on here?" Jian Wushuang was panic-stricken. Tai Shan and Mo Ying, who were behind him, as well as the black-clothed elder, and the others in front of him, stared in horror with their eyes wide open. Terrible horror. horror to such an extent that they had never experienced before. Even Jian Wushuang felt some fear rise in his heart. Except for the little girl. She smiled happily when seeing the sudden change and said, "My sister arrived." The girl moved away and leaped into the air. The frozen space seemed to have no effect on her at all. Though Jian Wushuang and the black-clothed elder could not move, they managed to look in the direction which the girl moved to. In their sight, a frosty woman in white, beautiful beyond description, was walking toward them. Whiter than snow, eyes like a clear spring, she was so elegant and graceful that everyone would be stunned and feel a sense of inferiority while looking at her. But, in spite of her cold appearance, there was something about her that caused everyone to be unable to resist being lost in reverie. Is she a goddess? An expert from Skywave Prefecture murmured. Goddess, she was indeed a goddess. Even Jian Wushuang was stunned by the woman's beauty and aura. She was like nothing in the world. She was so beautiful that the many experts here, even the black-clothed elder with 100 years of experience, had never seen such a beauty. Most of all, she had a terrifying power that caused everyone to tremble. Chapter 296, First on the Bloodmoon list, Leng Rushuang. Chapter 296, First on the Bloodmoon list, Leng Rushuang. Domain? Jian Wushuang felt like everything was frozen. He tried his best to move, but he could not. It made him aghast. It's too terrifying. Unbelievable. It might be stronger than domain. Jian Wushuang thought in private. The white-clothed woman, who aroused all their attention, finally stopped. She stood there, like a peerless goddess. Elder sister. The scruffy girl called out to the white-clothed woman. You caused trouble again, the white-clothed woman asked while looking at the girl. The girl stuck out her tongue. Then she pointed at the experts of Skywave Prefecture and said, it's their fault. I just ate one thing of theirs, and I said that I'm sorry, but they still keep chasing me and trying to kill me. The white-clothed woman coldly looked toward the experts of Skywave Prefecture. Her glance made the black-clothed elder frightened. He spoke in terror. My lady, we're from Skywave Prefecture. Your sister stole something precious that our mansion master has cultivated for many years. Our mansion master is furious. Before the black-clothed elder finished his words, a blast of coldness swept over. Then the black-clothed elder saw his people become ice sculptures. They became ice sculptures, and then in the next moment, the ice sculptures shattered like glass and broke into pieces. The scene struck terror into the black-clothed elder's heart. Jian Wushuang, Tai Shan, and Moing also were shocked. Just a glance could change dozens of experts into ice sculptures and then cause them to shatter. What kind of trick was this? What did you say? Repeat it again. The white-clothed woman looked down without any emotion in her eyes. No, no, the black-clothed elder said in terror while shaking his head. It's my fault. I'm sorry. May I beg for your mercy? The white-clothed woman snorted. Go back and tell your master. It's my sister's fault for eating his things, but you've already chased her for so long. That's enough. We're even. If he is not satisfied, he can come find me. Tell him, my name is Leng Rushuang. Leng Rushuang. Jian Wushuang felt a tremor in his heart. He was stunned. Leng Rushuang ranked number 1 on the Bloodmoon list. There were 26 experts of the Saint Realm recorded on the Bloodmoon list. As their strength changed, their rankings often fluctuated. Several years ago, a person entered the list and ranked first. From then on, that person kept their rank. That person was Leng Rushuang. She had killed more than one expert of the Saint Realm, with bizarre methods. She did not make any moves. She just used her mind to turn experts of the Saint Realm into ice fragments. No one knew how powerful she was. No one knew her origin either. Even her age and cultivation remained unknown. Definitely, she was one of the most mysterious and creepiest experts in the Tang dynasty. The person who built the Tang dynasty was also a mysterious monarch who had led it to develop to its current extent. Jian Wushuang did not expect that this beautiful woman was Leng Rushuang and that the scruffy girl was her sister. Jian Wushuang was only shocked by this, but the black-clothed elder actually shivered in terror. His legs trembled. Looking at Leng Rushuang, the black-clothed elder shook his head like a rattle and said, "No, no. Our mansion master feels that it was his great honor to have his treasure stolen by your sister." Leng Rushuang glanced at the black-clothed elder. "You can go." It seemed as if everything was back to normal. Jian Wushuang and the others could move again. The black-clothed elder felt relieved. He respectfully bowed to Leng Rushuang and turned to leave. Obviously, he was petrified. "Let's go." Jian Wushuang gave an order and they turned around, ready to leave. But the scruffy girl suddenly blocked their way. "My elder sister only let the old guy go." "Why are you leaving?" the girl said while smiling at Jian Wushuang. "Sister, these 3 guys bullied you. Do you want me to kill them for you?" Leng Rushuang looked toward the 3 warriors. Jian Wushuang's heart missed a beat. He was clear that he was not her match even if he performed soul-devouring secret skill. If he fought with her, he would become ice fragments. "No, I don't." The girl shook her head. "They didn't bully me. Instead, they helped me a lot. Especially this guy, he blocked those attackers by himself." The scruffy girl winked at Jian Wushuang. Then she turned her gaze toward Leng Rushuang and said, "Elder sister, this guy helped me a lot. Please reward him to express my gratitude." Leng Rushuang felt a tremor in her heart and glanced at Jian Wushuang. A warrior of the profound Yang Void Realm could block a half-saint expert and a group of experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Not bad. "Big brother," the scruffy girl said, while looking toward Jian Wushuang. "Do you want something? My sister is powerful. No matter what you want, she could give it to you." Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. He raised his head, threw a glance at Leng Rushuang, and then snorted. "Sorry, I don't need anything." Then he waved his hand at Tai Shan and Mo Ying. "Let's go." The 3 warriors left directly. "Elder sister, why not stop them?" the scruffy girl asked. "Obviously, the guy didn't want to form a relationship with us. So why did stop them?" Leng Rushuang replied. "But he did do me a favor. Our father told me that we should show our gratitude to someone that helps us," the scruffy girl said. "You dare to mention our father? You sneaked out while our father was in closed-door cultivation. You should be worried about how our father will punish you," Leng Rushuang said in a low voice. Chapter 297, Swordsman, Come Accept Your Death. Chapter 297, Swordsman, Come Accept Your Death. In the huge residence of Skywave Prefecture, a muscular middle-aged man, with big eyes and bushy eyebrows, sat in the chair, tapping the armrest with his fingertips. The man had a deep, scary knife mark on his forehead and he was surrounded by a violent aura, similar to a monster. This man was the mansion master of Skywave Prefecture, Man Yen. In front of Man Yen stood a person, the black-clothed elder who was afraid of Leng Rushuang. "You didn't get it back." Man Yen's eyes widened like copper bells as he stared at the black-clothed elder. "I'm incompetent," the black-clothed elder answered in terror. "I caught up with the girl, but I didn't expect that she was Leng Rushuang's sister. Leng Rushuang showed up to save her, and I did not have an opportunity to strike back. She wanted me to tell Mansion Master that you could go find her if you are not convinced." Leng Rushuang. Man Yen squinted. Even he held Leng Rushuang in awe, so he did not dare to pick a fight with her. "Asshole." Man Yen stood up while violently slapping the armchair into dust, then said, "I've cultivated the 3-colored spiritual vine for dozens of years. In order to get it, I paid a high price, let alone years of cultivation, but now Man Yen was furious, but he had to bear the resentment in his heart. The three-colored spiritual vine was precious. More importantly, it was the main ingredient for refining a saint breakthrough elixir. A saint breakthrough elixir was the only hope for him to reach the saint realm. He had been collecting the materials needed to refine it. As of now, he had gathered all of them, except for the three-colored spiritual vine, which had yet to mature. He never expected the girl to steal it right after it matured. That was the reason why he was so filled with rage and resentment. However, he could do nothing, as it was Leng Rushuang's sister who took the three-colored spiritual vine away. Her sister seemed to have already eaten it. What could he do? The black-clothed elder was secretly in shock. He was afraid that Man Yen would vent his anger on him, because he knew the three-colored spiritual vine was important to the mansion master. Suddenly, the black-clothed elder raised his eyebrows and spoke. Mansion master, in fact, I originally had a chance to get the spiritual vine back. What do you mean? Yang Zishuan looked toward him. I had already caught up with the girl. When I was ready to catch her, I was blocked by Swordsman, the first protector of the Heartless sect, so I could not grab the girl, the black-clothed elder replied. Swordsman? You mean the man who killed 2 half-saint experts in our Skywave Prefecture? Man Yen said in a low voice. He was the mansion master, so he knew about the things that happened in his prefecture and had heard of the name. Yes. The black-clothed elder nodded and continued, I could have caught the girl and gotten the spiritual vine back. Then I could have released the girl and made an apology to them when Leng Rushuang arrived. However, Swordsman blocked us. He dared to block you? Man Yen said, with killing intent gushing out. Moreover, when I bumped into him, I used Mansion Master's name, but he did not care, the black-clothed elder added in an attempt to fuel his anger. How dare he? Man Yen snorted, with endless fury in his eyes. It's true that I don't dare to piss off Leng Rushuang, but even a little expert doesn't put me in his eyes. He is courting death. Man Yen had no place to give vent to his anger, so he could only vent it on Jian Wushuang. Huang Fu Ming, Man Yen shouted. A figure immediately appeared in front of Man Yen and spoke respectfully, Mansion Master. Go to Heartless City right now and bring me Swordsman's head. Man Yen gave the order. Okay. Huang Fu Ming nodded. Let me go with you, the black-clothed elder said, then followed him. Whoosh! 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 Led by Huang Fu Ming and the black-clothed elder, a large number of figures flew up into the air in the Skywave Prefecture. Bro Huangfu, you must be careful when fighting with Swordsman. His cultivation is low, but he is really powerful. Previously, dozens of experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm and I were repelled by him with one stroke, the black-clothed elder said. Do you think that I am a trash like you? Huang Fu Ming said while glancing at the black-clothed elder. The black-clothed elder paused with an embarrassed look and then coldly replied, I hope you win the fight. Huang Fu Ming lifted the corner of his mouth up, ignoring it. Swordsman has killed 2 half-saint experts, but the 2 experts' strength was ordinary. He was able to kill them because he used a trick to slow down their speed. It isn't because of his real strength. Huang Fu Ming poured scorn on Jian Wushuang. Over the past year, Jian Wushuang rose rapidly in Skywave Prefecture. Many people thought Jian Wushuang was the most powerful half-saint expert, besides Lord of Skywave Prefecture, but Huang Fu Ming held him in contempt. In Skywave Prefecture, I am the strongest half-saint expert. Swordsman is a nobody, and today I will take his head. Huang Fu Ming snorted in private. Shortly after, they arrived at Heartless City but remained floating in the air above it. Huang Fu Ming let out a cry, which resounded through the whole city. Swordsman, come accept your death. He repeated it 3 times, his voice thundered and reverberated through the whole city. The voice caused a stir in the city, and a large number of experts began to rush towards the sky. Who dares to pick a fight with Protector Swordsman? Whoever dares to challenge Protector Swordsman is courting death. Those people. Many experts of the Heartless sect became furious. Now Swordsman was comparable in status to Master of Heartless sect. Many experts idolized their first protector. The moment they heard someone tell their idol to come and accept death, they could not help but get angry. It didn't take long for them to recognize the challenger's identity. People from Skywave Prefecture. The experts of the Heartless sect were shocked. At this moment, the Master of Heartless sect void walked and appeared in front of Huang Fuming. Chapter 298, Fight to the Death. Chapter 298, Fight to the Death. Mr. Huang Fuming, I wonder why you have come to our Heartless sect. Master of Heartless sect spoke in a low voice. Master of Heartless sect. Huang Fuming cast a glance at the Master of Heartless sect, then coldly said, none of your business. Just stand aside. If you dare to step in, there is no need for your Heartless sect to exist. Huang Fuming. The expression of the Master of Heartless sect changed. Huang Fuming, who was unwilling to talk with the Master of Heartless sect, looked downward with his cold eyes. In a courtyard, Jian Wushuang, who had just returned, squinted and looked up at the sky. The moment he moved his body and appeared in the air, he saw Huang Fuming and the black-clothed elder. Just as I expect, they are from Skywave Prefecture. Jian Wushuang did not feel surprised and knew why they came. They don't dare to make trouble for Leng Rushuang, so they came to piss me off. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture is quite narrow-minded. Jian Wushuang sneered. Are you Swordsman? Huang Fuming looked towards Jian Wushuang. Huang Fuming. Jian Wushuang also recognized the challenger. Huang Fuming was the half-saint expert that ranked 41st on the Bloodmoon list. All the experts within the top 27 had reached the saint realm, except the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. As the only half-saint expert, he also had battle strength in the saint realm. Huang Fuming could rank 44th, indicating that he was one of the strongest among the half-saint experts. Huang Fuming is much stronger than Shuang and Lu Yi. Jian Wushuang thought. Swordsman, you must know why I'm here. You offended our mansion master. I've been ordered to take your head, Huang Fuming said coldly. There are many people who want my head. Who is he? Jian Wushuang gave a contemptuous smile. He was not afraid of Holy Emperor Palace. How was it possible to put a Lord of Skywave Prefecture in his eyes? You are courting death. Huang Fuming shouted. He moved his wrist and a double-edged giant axe appeared in his hand. He took a sudden step in the air, causing invisible waves to spread out. He immediately lifted up his giant axe and hacked at Jian Wushuang. The slash was extremely powerful, seemingly strong enough to cut through a mountain. Jian Wushuang stared at it coldly, with a cyan long sword in his hand. The ordinary sword only looked sharp. However, a roaring power erupted as Jian Wushuang's spiritual power surged. Selfless sword technique, 5th move. Blood-rupturing movement. His world origin suddenly erupted, shaking the surroundings, as if the whole world in front of him was being suppressed. They launched frontal attacks, without any tricks. Boom! Jian Wushuang halted and was instantly repulsed. After retreating back almost 100 meters, he regained his stance. I performed blood-rupturing movement with all my strength, but I was still overpowered by him. Jian Wushuang thought in surprise. The famous swordsman is just so, Huang Fuming said with a cold smile. I underestimated you at first. Then, try my 6th move, Jian Wushuang said indifferently. The 6th move, you still can't overpower me. Huang Fuming lifted his double-edged giant axe, with a rush of battle intent in his eyes. His body became larger at this moment, and a scary aura began gushing out. The giant axe suddenly lashed out. Selfless sword technique, 6th move. While remaining composed, Jian Wushuang swung his long sword again. Boom! This time, Jian Wushuang and Huang Fuming retreated at the same time. Both of them were repelled more than 1,000 meters. Huang Fuming even retreated to the edge of Heartless City. This time, the result was a draw. Good, you live up to the position of a top expert who ranks 41st on the Bloodmoon list. Since I matched you with the 6th move, accept my 7th move, Jian Wushuang said, with a casual smile on his face, while lifting his sword. The 7th move? Huang Fuming's face changed. He had performed his best move with that attack, which was barely enough against the 6th move Jian Wushuang displayed. Now, what would happen if Jian Wushuang performed the 7th move? Go to hell. Jian Wushuang's cold voice resounded through the area as his long sword violently lashed out. Suddenly, the world fell into darkness. In the darkness, only a brilliant stake of sword light remained, lighting up the world. Huang Fuming began to panic and performed his best move again. The moment his stroke collided with the streak of sword light, his giant axe was knocked away. Then the sword light, still at full power, slashed through Huang Fuming's body. Huang Fuming widened his eyes, but his body was already split in two. All the onlookers were shocked. An eerie silence fell upon all of Heartless City. Countless eyes were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang slowly withdrew his sword and could not help but shake his head while watching Huang Fuming's body fall down. He really is strong. If I fought with him a year ago, I would not have killed him so easily. But now, he was not even qualified to see the 8th move. Jian Wushuang spoke frankly. On hearing this, everyone was petrified. The 8th move? He could perform the 8th move. He did not use all of his strength. Everyone shouted in shock. Huang Fuming, who ranked 41 on the Bloodmoon list, was considered a top half-saint expert. However, Jian Wushuang killed him without using his full strength. What did it mean? Their first protector might not be far off from the strength of a real Saint Realm warrior. In fact, after a year of cultivation, Jian Wushuang's strength improved greatly. He could kill a half-saint expert a year ago, so there was no doubt that he was extremely powerful now. People haven't noticed it because he rarely displayed his moves. Skywave Prefecture. I originally thought I would go there after a period of practice. Now that the Lord of Skywave Prefecture has come to find me first, I'll take the next step forward. Jian Wushuang thought and looked toward the black-clothed elder. Listen, go back to tell your lord that I will fight to the death with him outside of Heartless City in 3 days. Chapter 299, Sensation. Chapter 299, Sensation. Everyone in Heartless City was stunned. Jian Wushuang will fight to the death with the Lord of Skywave Prefecture outside of Heartless City in 3 days? He's challenging the Mansion Master. Protector Swordsman wants to challenge the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. Wow! 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 A great cheer suddenly rose throughout the whole city. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture ranked 21st on the Bloodmoon list, which meant he was very powerful. Though he was just at the half-saint level, he had the battle strength of an expert in the Saint Realm. Ordinary experts were not qualified to challenge him. However, Jian Wushuang proved himself after he easily killed Huang Fuming, so no one dared to question his strength. The black-clothed elder was scared and murmured, "I will tell him." Then he and the other experts of Skywave Prefecture left. It caused a sensation in Heartless City. Leng Rushuang and her sister stood in the air near the city. He is challenging the Lord of Skywave Prefecture in 3 days. How bold! Leng Rushuang spoke without a flicker of emotion in her eyes. Sister, if he loses the fight with the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, will you save him? The girl asked. He is looking for death. Why should I save him? Leng Rushuang replied in a low voice. Sister, the girl, who was not satisfied with her elder sister's answer, anxiously cried out. Shortly after, Heartless City became quiet, but many experts were excited. The news that Jian Wushuang easily killed Huang Fuming and challenged the Lord of Skywave Prefecture in 3 days spread through the Skywave Prefecture and also caused a sensation. In the huge mansion, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture asked in surprise, with hands behind his back, Swordsman killed Huang Fuming without using all of his strength? He did not expect things would progress like that. He said that he didn't have to perform the 8th move, but I don't know whether it's true or not, the black-clothed elder answered respectfully. Interesting. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture lifted the corner of his mouth and showed a terrifying smile. I didn't expect that there was such a strong expect in Skywave Prefecture. It's no wonder that he dared to offend our Skywave Prefecture. Will you fight to the death with me? Fine. It has been a long time since anyone dared to challenge me. Tell them that I will cut off Swordsman's head and hang it at our prefecture gate in 3 days. Yes. The black-clothed elder followed the order and immediately went to spread the news. Soon, the whole prefecture knew their lord accepted the challenge. He will cut off Swordsman's head and hang it at his prefecture gate in 3 days. How domineering. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture seems to be really angry. I'm looking forward to this fight between the Lord of Skywave Prefecture and Swordsman. Countless experts anticipated this fight, which caused a large number of experts to arrive in Heartless City to watch the ultimate fight between Swordsman and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. The Heartless sect fell into a frenzy during these 3 days. In a meeting hall, the master of Heartless sect looked at Jian Wushuang and said, Swordsman, you will fight with the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, who has battle strength equivalent to the Saint Realm. Do you have confidence in defeating him? Protector Swordsman. Bei Mu and Leng spoke. When they heard Swordsman was challenging the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, all of them became excited. But now they were worried that their first protector would fail. After all, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture was famous for his strength. It had been several years since he became well known in the Tang dynasty. Swordsman, on the other hand, was too young and had a lower cultivation. They believed Swordsman would be able to defeat the Lord of Skywave Prefecture in several years, but right now. Don't worry. Since I dared to challenge him, I'm prepared for it, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. He was not comforting himself, he did have confidence. He had made great progress during this year of practice. He originally planned to challenge the Lord of Skywave Prefecture after a period of time. Now he was just bringing the schedule forward a bit earlier than he had planned. Time was fleeting. 3 days passed quickly. On the night before the fight, Jian Wushuang sat alone in the center of his courtyard. His realm of sword essence spread out like the tide, covering the whole yard. The sword essence was terrifying. Jian Wushuang suddenly opened his eyes, raised his head, and looked up into the dark night sky, with the flash of a smile on his face. There he is. Whoosh! A figure appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The figure wore a wicked blood-red mask, with a sharp sword on his back. It was his slaughter doppelganger, Nan. Over the past year, Jian Wushuang meditated on the world origin in the Heartless sect, while his slaughter doppelganger traveled around, challenging experts everywhere. Nan was famous now. Nan ranks 36th on the Bloodmoon list and seems to be at the half-saint level. He has comprehended slaughter origin and fought with 10 half-saint experts. 9 of them were killed by him and only 1 expert was lucky enough to survive. There is no doubt that he possesses a soaring battle strength. This was the introduction of Nan on the Bloodmoon list. Nan was only suspected to be a half-saint expert because he was a slaughter doppelganger and could hide his spiritual power and aura so perfectly that others could not see his real cultivation. They made their judgment only according to the strength he showed. In fact, his slaughter doppelganger's cultivation, which was determined by his own level, was only at the profound Yang Void realm. I cannot only depend on myself to fight against the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, so I called you back, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Nan nodded slightly and then walked toward Jian Wushuang. In the next moment, the slaughter doppelganger and Jian Wushuang completely merged into one. His triple kill sword was also back in his hand. The triple kill sword. Jian Wushuang looked at the killing sword, that possessed a roaring killing intent, and fondled it. The triple kill sword began quivering slightly, as if it was responding to its owner. Jian Wushuang wore a smile and said, "Everything depends on tomorrow." This night, Jian Wushuang sat alone in the courtyard all night. Chapter 300, The Final Fight. Chapter 300, The Final Fight. The next morning, when dawn broke and the first rays of sunshine were shining on the courtyard, Jian Wushuang, who was sitting on the ground, finally opened his eyes. Many experts of the Heartless sect had quietly waited up in the air over their sect. When Jian Wushuang appeared outside, they all looked toward him with fervent eyes. Jian Wushuang had become a legend in these experts' eyes. If he could defeat or kill the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, his myth would continue. Swordsman. The master of Heartless sect looked at Jian Wushuang. "It's time to set off," Jian Wushuang said calmly. There was a wilderness area outside Heartless City. It was very bleak without even weeds, only some stones. People hardly came here, but today it was full of people. Two young men in the crowd were talking. "Look, the young man with the long sword on his back is Swordsman. He is Swordsman. He is so young. He looks about 20 years old. At his age, he dares to challenge the Lord of Skywave Prefecture," the short and thin man said with a strange look. The purple-haired youth replied, The Lord of Skywave Prefecture has a high status. Not just anyone is qualified to challenge him. Even if the experts who were in the top 100 on the Bloodmoon list want to challenge him, he might ignore them. Mr. Swordsman is young, but he is very powerful indeed. You must know Huangfu Ming, who ranked 41st on the list, right? He was killed by Swordsman. Moreover, Mr. Swordsman didn't use all his strength in that fight. If I could catch up with Swordsman someday, I could die without regret. The purple-haired youth could not help but sigh. There was one person in the air, Jian Wushuang. All the onlookers in the Yin-Yang Void Realm stood on the ground to watch this fight, showing respect for Swordsman and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. So many people. Jian Wushuang thought secretly when overlooking the dense crowd beneath. There were at least thousands of onlookers who were also strong. At that moment, a sharp boom suddenly resounded. A huge fireball darted over like falling meteor. In an instant, it appeared about 300 meters away from Jian Wushuang. After the fire disappeared, a strong figure with a violent aura appeared. The tall, muscular man had a scary knife mark on his face, with a roaring killing intent, as if he was a beast. He stood quietly in the air, looking toward Jian Wushuang with his cold eyes. "You came early. Are you anxious to die?" the Lord of Skywave Prefecture asked and sneered. "Who will die is not decided by your words," Jian Wushuang replied coldly. "You're right. It's up to my strength," the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said seriously. He clenched his right fist, surrounded by a soaring flame, while gathering the great power in his hand. "Make your move," Jian Wushuang said calmly with his sword in his hand. The two people, floating in the sky, chatted casually under the gaze of countless experts. At this moment, all the onlookers held their breath and stared at this fight with their full attention. Up in the air, the two giant figures' aura rapidly increased until they reached their limit. Countless onlookers were shocked by their aura. Suddenly, a gleam of killing intent flashing in his eyes, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture started the fight. Whoosh! The Lord of Skywave Prefecture pushed off and dashed out like an ancient fierce beast, striding 1,000 feet in an instant. Then he launched an attack with his right fist. The punch, covered in an endless flame, immediately swelled. The huge fire punch became as large as a house while rushing toward Jian Wushuang. It was like a falling meteor. Jian Wushuang wielded the triple kill sword, filled with a roaring power, and displayed the seventh move of selfless sword technique. He had killed Huangfu Ming with this move, but now he had to perform this move in the first round against the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. The brilliant sword light seemed to shake the world as it split the fire punch in half. Half of the punch was shattered in the sky, while the other shot toward the ground. The earth shook. Then, a moment later, a huge hole appeared in the ground, more than 100 meters wide and dozens of meters deep. The onlookers had to retreat from the battlefield so that no one would get hurt. With his explosive speed, Jian Wushuang dashed forward. Streaks of powerful sword shadow lashed out, like lightning. In an instant, the sky was filled with the sword shadow. Every streak of sword shadow was full of great power. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture snorted as flames gushed out from his body. Instantly, he was covered by a sheet of flaming armor. It protected him from the attacker's stroke, letting out a metallic sound. Without a sword skill, it seemed hard for the triple-kill sword to break through this armor. At this moment, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture changed into a peerless beast and pounced towards Jian Wushuang with a snarl. Every part of his body became a powerful weapon so that he could fight against Jian Wushuang at close range. Origin of all beasts? Jian Wushuang frowned. In close combat, I am not his match. He had fought with experts of the origin of all beasts, so he knew how strong these experts were in close combat. They were like a combination of a humanoid beast and a humanoid weapon. Suddenly, a hint of killing intent flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Selfless sword technique, 8th move. Boom! The air seemed to burst completely. A brilliant streak of sword light pierced the space, forming a huge vortex as it swept toward the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. Round Sky Fissure. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture let out a cry and launched another punch with his right fist. It seemed like it was going to smash the area to pieces. Boom! Jian Wushuang and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture were repelled at the same time. Chapter 301, A Fierce Fight. Chapter 301, A Fierce Fight. The onlookers were stunned. Too strong. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture is terrifying. I feel like his casual punch could kill me. Swordsman is also strong. He was able to fight him to a draw for now. Everyone had gleaming eyes as they stared at the two. They knew both sides had just made tentative attacks, so they had not used their full strength. Nobody noticed the two figures that were standing in the air near the battlefield and watching the fight. They were Leng Rushuang and her sister. Big brother is quite powerful, her sister said. Powerful? Leng Rushuang replied with cold eyes, for someone that is only in the profound Yang Void realm, his battle strength is good. Compared to others' great acclaim, Leng Rushuang thought Jian Wushuang's performance was just good. While standing above the area, Jian Wushuang and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture both stabilized their body and looked at each other. Good, no wonder you dared to challenge me. You do indeed possess some strength. Lord of Skywave Prefecture stared at Jian Wushuang in the same way he would look at his prey. As a lord of a prefecture, you haven't shown your full strength, right? Show it, or it will be boring for me to attack you, Jian Wushuang said casually. Lord of Skywave Prefecture had shown his scary strength in the fierce confrontation. He had comprehended origin of all beasts and origin of raging fire, reaching the peak of momentum. He also could activate 90% of origin of heaven and earth. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was not weaker than him in the enlightenment of the origin. His attack was violent and strong, much stronger than an ordinary half-saint expert. It was no wonder that he had battle strength of the saint realm and was qualified to be the lord of a prefecture. Jian Wushuang clearly understood that the Lord of Skywave Prefecture had not displayed his real battle strength and that he lived up to his rank on the Bloodmoon list. I haven't used my full strength in a long time because no one could make me, but you're qualified, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said with a faint smile. He took out a pair of red gloves, which were full of scary mysterious cracks, and slowly put on them. The onlookers could not help but exclaim. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture had fought against Jian Wushuang using his fist, but now he was going to use his gloves. This pair of gloves was his weapon. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture is going to use his full strength. I wonder how strong he is. All the experts looked at him with an expectant look. Jian Wushuang shot a glance at the gloves. He remained calm, but in fact, he was a bit worried. Little guy, I hope you can hold on for a while, that way I can have more fun, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said and grinned. Come on. Jian Wushuang had prepared himself. Boom. Then tracks of flames suddenly appeared in the air, as if the whole sky became a sea of fire. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture looked like flaming war god that was standing in fire. He overlooked the world with his twinkling eyes and roaring killing intent. As he clenched his right fist, the flames directly moved toward his fist at an amazing speed. In an instant, the sea of fire completely gathered in his fist. Go to hell. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture shouted. With a single stride, he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and immediately threw the powerful punch towards Jian Wushuang's head. In the blink of an eye, the sky split and the ground cracked, as if a dormant volcano had suddenly erupted after billions of years. Jian Wushuang felt as if the furious power could burn the whole world. He is stronger than me in origin of raging fire. Jian Wushuang thought with a serious look. He knew that this punch was 1.5 times stronger than the previous one. As for their strength, even a 10% improvement meant a lot, but the Lord of Skywave Prefecture had improved his power by 50%. If Jian Wushuang still performed the 8th move of Selfless Sword technique, he would be defeated without a doubt. Jian Wushuang was a bit surprised, but he did not panic. As the furious power swept towards him, his scary killing intent suddenly erupted. The ice-cold killing intent chilled the blood of countless experts. All the spectators looked toward Jian Wushuang in awe. The killing intent was too terrifying. As soon as Jian Wushuang lifted the triple kill sword, that was full of roaring killing intent, a towering phantom giant suddenly emerged. The current phantom giant was so condensed that it almost seemed real. As Jian Wushuang swung his sword, the giant also wielded the long sword and launched an attack. Hiss! The stroke seemed to split the sky, leaving a huge crack behind. All the onlookers were stunned by the terrifying stroke. The two powerful forces collided head-on under everyone's gaze. Bang! It sounded like thunder on a sunny day, pricking their ears as they covered them instinctively. Above the area, a series of crashes were heard right before their aftermath struck the ground. Bang! 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 As the earth shook, more and more holes and sword scars suddenly appeared on the ground, as if the area was being destroyed. In the center of the battlefield, the red-faced Jian Wushuang stared at his opponent and his opponent stared back. Slaughter origin. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture's face fell as he said, "You used the scary slaughter sword art. It seems that I looked down on you. You're a bit stronger than I expected." Just a bit stronger. A hint of coldness flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Suddenly, a strong tide of sword essence swept out and covered an area within a 100-meter radius. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was stuck in the tide. Then the tide of sword essence violently lashed against the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. Chapter 302, Sword Sea. Chapter 302, Sword Sea. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture's expression changed when he felt the tides of sword essence somewhat hindering his movements. A special trick. It looks like domain, but it is not the real thing, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture said coldly. He suddenly withdrew his hand. The next moment, a magic red light gleamed in his hand. The flash of light looked violent and blazing. The moment Jian Wushuang saw it, his heart could not help but skip a beat. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture held the flash of red light and then launched a powerful punch toward Jian Wushuang. Dragon Howl. He shouted with a frightening look. Dragon Roar, his strongest skill, was displayed. The huge punch looked ordinary, but when it appeared, flames suddenly filled the sky, converging into a gigantic flaming dragon. With an incredible howl, it rushed toward Jian Wushuang. In an instant, the weather changed and the whole area trembled. Jian Wushuang felt the strength of this flaming dragon, but managed to keep a cool expression. Even ordinary experts of the Saint Realm who saw this powerful move would take it seriously, as did Jian Wushuang. "Try my next stroke." Jian Wushuang spoke. He coldly stared at his opponent, with a roaring killing intent. He slowly slashed out with the triple kill sword, and the phantom giant behind him also attacked. The moment the stroke lashed out, the whole world became dead still. All the onlookers held their breath. Everyone stared at the stroke and shivered in fright. Although they knew they were not the target, they still felt as if they would be killed by it. Quite a few experts were petrified by this stroke. The second move of the blood-emptying technique, Sky-Shaking Stroke. As a superior third-grade sword skill, the blood-emptying technique only had 3 moves, but all the moves were very powerful. The first move of the blood-emptying technique, All-Smashing Stroke, was powerful enough. The second move could release more power than the first one. The stroke could destroy the whole world and exterminate everything. Jian Wushuang had just mastered the second move and had not used it against anyone yet. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was the first opponent Jian Wushuang attacked using this move. The huge sword shadow collided with the flaming dragon, but the head-on collision did not result in a loud sound. The two forces quietly weakened each other at breakneck speed. Suddenly, a huge fireball moved toward Jian Wushuang, burning his upper clothes and even beginning to burn parts of his upper body. Fortunately, he triggered his spiritual power to extinguish the fire, or he would have been burnt to ash. In fact, the upper part of his body was blackened by the fire, with some parts even being scorched. What a terrifying attack! Jian Wushuang looked at his blackened body and sighed in private. Then he sneered. He might not be in good condition after receiving my strike. Jian Wushuang looked up, towards the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. The latter widened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of blood. The onlookers could not help but exclaim. He spat blood. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture spat blood? One spat blood, the other was burned. What a bitter fight. It was bitter indeed. Many people originally thought the Lord of Skywave Prefecture would win, as he had been famous for longer and should be stronger than the young man. However, now, no one dared to think this way. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture wiped off the blood on the corner of his mouth, breathing deeply as he looked toward Jian Wushuang. I took it lightly. I didn't expect your stroke to be full of killing intent. My carelessness gave you an opportunity. I won't let it happen again. Really? Jian Wushuang asked while smiling slightly. Let's fight. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture snarled and launched another attack. With a roaring killing intent, Jian Wushuang prepared to block it. The final battle continued. Bang! 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 The crashes shook the area and the frightening power spread to the ground below. The land changed so much that it was no longer recognizable, yet Jian Wushuang and the Lord of Skywave Prefecture were still locked in a fierce battle. Both of them tried their best, but they could only draw against each other. The onlookers enjoyed it. The tide-like sword realm that Jian Wushuang emanated started to change without any signs. The tide-like sword essence became more turbulent, spreading more widely. After a while, the realm of sword essence had pervaded a radius of more than 1,000 meters. In the sword realm, endless sword essence swept toward the Lord of Skywave Prefecture like a tsunami. What? The Lord of Skywave Prefecture's face changed. Jian Wushuang was ecstatic at this moment. The third move of the sword realm, Sword Sea. Jian Wushuang mastered the second move of the sword realm a year ago. Then he had studied the third move, which was quite profound. Though he spent a year practicing it, he still felt he had not fully grasped it. He did not expect to comprehend Sword Sea during this fierce fight. Yet, It happened so easily. Experts of the Daluo Heaven sect would go crazy in envy if they knew. After all, the sword realm came from the Daluo Heaven sect. A large number of experts had studied this sword skill in the history of the Daluo Heaven sect, but none of them had mastered the third move, Sword C. Jian Wushuang had only practiced the sword realm for about a year, but now he had mastered Sword C. It was a big surprise for him. Jian Wushuang was somewhat stunned. After coming to his senses, he looked toward the Lord of Skywave Prefecture and spoke in a cold voice. Lord of Skywave Prefecture, it seems that you will die today, Jian Wushuang said. Chapter 303, New Lord of Skywave Prefecture. Chapter 303, New Lord of Skywave Prefecture. Lord of Skywave Prefecture, it seems that you will die today, Jian Wushuang said. His voice resounded through the area, then the sea of sword essence swept out toward the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. What's this? The Lord of Skywave Prefecture's expression changed. While he was in the realm of sword essence, he realized he was being suppressed and could only release 70% of his strength. In other words, 30% of his strength was being suppressed by the realm of sword essence. Even the top experts who mastered a domain could only suppress half of my strength. This guy's realm of sword essence is almost as strong as a domain. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was shocked. Sword Tide had suppressed 10% of his strength. Now it increased to 30%. Not good. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture saw Jian Wushuang rushing over. When 10% of his strength was suppressed, he was barely able to force a draw with Jian Wushuang. Now, with 30% of his strength suppressed, he would not be Jian Wushuang's match. The sword realm restricted the Lord of Skywave Prefecture's movement. Using his roaring killing intent, Jian Wushuang struck out with his long sword. It's over. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture thought, but he was unwilling to be killed like this. Even if I will die, I won't make it easy on you, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture thundered. He immediately ate several elixirs that could improve his strength in a short time. These were ordinary elixirs, so the increase in his strength was limited, but he did not care. Now, he pounced toward Jian Wushuang, like a mad, hungry wolf. Useless. Jian Wushuang swung his sword and easily blocked it. After an all-out attack, the Lord of Skywave Prefecture lost his morale, so Jian Wushuang prepared to end this fight. Go to hell. The continuous streaks of sword light pierced through the area, leaving 3 holes on the Lord of Skywave Prefecture's body. The strong man still widened his eyes while falling. Finally, he is dead. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was stronger than he thought. If he had not comprehended Sword C during the fight, it would have been much harder for him to kill such a strong person. Regarding comprehension of the origin, sword skill, and magic weapons, I am much stronger than him, but my cultivation is too low, Jian Wushuang sighed in private. The time he spent cultivating wasn't long. With the help of heavenly creation skill, and opportunities from the ancestors' land, he had managed to reach the profound Yang Void realm at his age, which was considered incredible. Jian Wushuang stood by the Lord of Skywave Prefecture's body. He waved his hand, took off the loser's interspatial ring, and looked around. The whole area became calm, and the spectators were petrified. When Jian Wushuang began to move toward Heartless City, a burst of exclamation rose from the crowd. He is dead. The Lord of Skywave Prefecture was killed. Swordsman killed the Lord of Skywave Prefecture. It caused a sensation. All the experts were astonished. Man Yan, one of the overlords in the Tang dynasty, had been killed. The news would spread through the whole empire. Very good. Leng Rushuang looked toward Jian Wushuang with a hint of surprise in her eyes. I said he would win this fight, the scruffy girl said with a smile. Okay, now it's over. Shall we go back? Leng Rushuang asked. Nope, the scruffy girl replied while shaking her head, I need to repay him for his help. Repay him? Leng Rushuang said, he is strong enough in the Tang dynasty. As long as he doesn't piss off someone from the top 10 of the Bloodmoon list, he won't get into any trouble, so you won't have any chance to repay him. No, no. I won't go back with you unless I repay him, the scruffy girl said stubbornly. Leng Rushuang thought for a while and said in a low voice, okay, I will give you 5 days. Then you must return with me, no excuses. Deal. The scruffy girl nodded without hesitation. You stay here. I will go play with him. Then the girl moved toward Heartless City. In the hall of the Heartless Sect, the master of Heartless Sect and the other protectors were congratulating Jian Wushuang. Ha, Protector Swordsman, oh, no. We should call you Lord. Right, Lord. That fight startled all of us. A peerless expert, who had battle strength equal to the Saint Realm, had been killed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang wore a faint smile. He challenged the Lord of Skywave Prefecture and killed him. From now on, he would become the new Lord of Skywave Prefecture. This was the rule of the Tang dynasty. As the Lord of Skywave Prefecture, he could be considered an overlord in the Tang dynasty. Jian Wushuang suddenly raised his head and looked toward the doorway, where a little head popped out. Who is that? The master of Heartless Sect and the other protectors perceived it, and looked towards the doorway. When they saw the scruffy girl of 15 or 16 years old, they had an odd look on their faces. The scruffy girl ignored their attention and stepped inside. After standing beside Jian Wushuang, she winked at him, without saying a word. Jian Wushuang's face changed. He did not have a good impression on the scruffy girl and her elder sister. If not for the scruffy girl, he would not have fought with the Lord of Skywave Prefecture so soon. Why did you come here? Where is your elder sister? Jian Wushuang asked, frowning. I came here for you. I want to play with you. As for my sister, she has her things to do, the scruffy girl replied innocently, Big brother, my name is Leng Rushuang. Chapter 304, Tan Feng. Chapter 304, Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang looked at the childish girl and said seriously, I don't have time to play with you. Then I can play by myself, the scruffy girl said and snorted. Then she haughtily walked toward the doorway, while throwing a meaningful glance at the other experts. The master of Heartless Sect and the other protectors all had a surprised look on their faces. After the girl left, the master of Heartless Sect could not help but ask, Swordsman, is she your friend? Friend? No, she isn't. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had met the girl and her elder sister once, so he did not count them as his friends. The girl has a powerful background. Even I'm afraid of the person behind her, Jian Wushuang said. Powerful background? The master of Heartless Sect was surprised. Master, if the girl wants to stay here for several days, please let her do whatever she wants. As long as she doesn't go overboard, just leave her alone, Jian Wushuang said. Upon hearing this, the master of Heartless Sect wore a wry smile. Obviously, they had to treat this girl like a young master. The next day, the renewed Bloodmoon list showed that Jian Wushuang ranked 21st, taking the place of Man Yan. The news shook the Tang dynasty. The experts on the list often challenged each other, so their rankings often changed. That was why the Bloodmoon list was renewed every day. The rankings on the list often fluctuated between the half-saint experts and experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Top 30 of the list consisted of 26 experts of the Saint Realm and 4 experts who had the battle strength of the Saint Realm. They rarely fought with each other, so their rankings seldom changed. Every change would arouse the attention of the public. Not only many experts of the Tang dynasty, but the old sects of the Nanyang continent kept an eye out for this list. When it was renewed, the old sects immediately knew that Swordsman ranked 21st. Holy Emperor Palace also received the news. Swordsman is only in the profound Yang Void Realm, but he killed the Lord of Skywave Prefecture in a face-to-face battle. He is young and adept at sword principle. Our Holy Emperor Palace has offered a reward for killing Jian Wushuang. When he was in the initial Yang Void Realm, he fought 2 experts of the Saint Realm. Moreover, he is good at sword principle. This swordsman from the Tang dynasty is probably Jian Wushuang. We finally found him. Go kill him right now. Holy Emperor Palace issued an order. The next day, 2 figures appeared outside of Heartless City. One of them was a fat middle-aged man. He wore a mild smile while standing beside the other respectfully. Sir Tan Feng, Heartless City is not far from us. Our target is there right now, the middle-aged man said reverently. A bald elder stood there with a cold look. He did not emanate any aura as if he was air. Divine transcendence. This bald elder was a true expert of the Saint Realm. Anyone that heard his name would be shocked. Tan Feng ranked 9th on the Bloodmoon list. He reached divine transcendence 100 years ago and had already mastered a domain. Swordsman poses a threat to our Holy Emperor Palace. Sir, he is powerful, so you need to use your full strength to kill him. Don't give him any chances, the middle-aged man added. It's not a big deal to kill him. Tan Feng narrowed his eyes and nodded. I care more about the thing Holy Emperor Palace promised to give me after killing him. Don't worry, sir. As long as you kill him, our palace will offer you the superior 3rd-grade magic weapon and the superior 2nd-grade origin manual you want, the middle-aged man replied with a smile, but he was somewhat reluctant in his heart. There had been friction between the Holy Emperor Palace and the alchemy school. The latter kept an eye on the top experts from the palace, so they could not kill Jian Wushuang by themselves and had to turn to Tan Feng for help. After all, the superior 3rd-grade magic weapon and superior 2nd-grade origin manual were also important for Holy Emperor Palace. Since it's decided, let's go, Tan Feng said. They moved fast and immediately arrived in the area over Heartless City. This is the lair of the Heartless sect. Swordsman is there. Sir, let's do it. The middle-aged man spoke. Tan Feng nodded. Just as he was about to descend, he suddenly stopped. That is, a flash of light caught his attention. He instantly saw a beautiful figure standing above a tower. The figure also coldly looked in his direction. Sir, what's wrong? The middle-aged young man asked. Wait a minute, Tan Feng frowned and replied seriously, I didn't expect her to be here. The middle-aged man also frowned. Tan Feng's expression became a bit unnatural. She was Leng Rushuang. She was powerful and ranked 1st on the Bloodmoon list. Tan Feng did not know Leng Rushuang's real strength, because he did not have the guts to fight with her. Sir, hurry up, the middle-aged young man said. Shut up. Tan Feng scolded him and thought. She came here for Swordsman. Does she have some kind of relationship with him? If I kill him, will I be courting death? Tan Feng was not sure why Leng Rushuang came here, so he did not dare to take action. Leng Rushuang was standing there, like the 9th heaven goddess. Then she looked away from the bald elder. An expert of the Saint Realm came for Swordsman. Leng Rushuang murmured. Then she moved toward Jian Wushuang's courtyard. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was practicing his swordsmanship, while Leng Rushuang was sitting on the stone stool and eating a chicken leg, with her mouth covered in grease. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew and the whole yard immediately became cold. Then, Leng Rushuang appeared before their eyes. Chapter 305, Refuse. Chapter 305, Refuse. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked at Leng Rushuang. Elder sister, why are you here? Leng Rushuang asked while putting down the chicken leg. Leng Rushuang ignored her sister and looked toward Jian Wushuang. An expert of the Saint Realm has arrived. He should be here for you. An expert of the Saint Realm? Here for me. Jian Wushuang frowned. Holy Emperor Palace? Jian Wushuang realized that Holy Emperor Palace would find him once he became famous in the Tang dynasty. After all, a sword principal warrior who was in the profound Yang Void realm and could kill Man Yan, could only be him. But he did not expect that Holy Emperor Palace would move so quickly. The day after the news that he ranked 21st spread, experts from Holy Emperor Palace had arrived to kill him. I know the Saint Realm expert. He is Tan Feng and ranks 9th on the list. He has also mastered domain. If he wants to kill you, you won't have any chance to escape, Leng Rushuang said coldly. Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang recalled the introduction about Tan Feng in the Bloodmoon list. His face grew solemn. Then he looked toward Leng Rushuang and asked, "What do you want to say?" "My sister likes playing around, but she's too weak to protect herself. If I let her do whatever she wants in the Tang dynasty, I'm afraid that she would be chased by someone like last time, so I'd like to hire a guard for her," Leng Rushuang answered. "You want me to be her guard?" Jian Wushuang said. "Your strength is good. I think you're qualified for this job. As long as you promise to be my sister's guard for 5 years, I will help you kill the expert of the Saint Realm. Moreover, I can ensure that no one dares to challenge you. What do you think?" Leng Rushuang's voice was still cold. Upon hearing this, Leng Rushuang widened her eyes, expectantly staring at Jian Wushuang. "Sorry, I refuse." Jian Wushuang shook his head without even thinking. He disliked hiding under someone else's shelter. Therefore, even though Wang Yuan invited him, he did not go to the alchemy school, let alone stay with Leng Rushuang for 5 years. Even if it only took him 5 days or a few months, Jian Wushuang would not accept it. "In that case, you will have to find your own way of dealing with Tan Feng," Leng Rushuang said. "I never depend on anyone," Jian Wushuang replied coldly. Then he walked out of the yard. 2 people had been waiting there. Tai Shan and Moing. Jian Wushuang spoke seriously. "I'm leaving here. If there is an opportunity, I'll come back. Please help me tell the other protectors." Then Jian Wushuang immediately left. Tai Shan and Moing were surprised and could not figure out why their first protector left so abruptly. Tan Feng immediately perceived that Jian Wushuang was trying to escape. "He wants to run away," Tan Feng said in a low voice. "Sir, what are you waiting for? Go kill him." The middle-aged young man spoke anxiously. "No, wait a moment." Tan Feng shook his head and stared in the direction of Leng Rushuang. "She should know that I came for Swordsman. I don't know what relationship Swordsman has with her. If I try to kill Swordsman, will she stop me?" Tan Feng still had some concerns, because Leng Rushuang was much more powerful than him. At this moment, he saw Leng Rushuang leave with Leng Rushuang. Tan Feng raised his brows. "She didn't come to stop me or give me any warnings. That means she won't protect Swordsman." Tan Feng was immediately relieved. Then a blast of powerful aura spread out. "Swordsman, I'm here." "Where are you going? Do you think you can run away?" A cold, loud voice resounded through the sky. Tan Feng suddenly rushed towards Jian Wushuang. The voice shook the whole city. Who wants to kill Protector Swordsman?" Many experts of the Heartless sect shot up into the sky. They immediately saw 2 figures moving in the distant sky. One was Swordsman, and the other was a bald elder, who was exuding a roaring aura. The Saint Realm. A real Saint Realm expert. He is Tan Feng, ranked 9th on the Bloodmoon list. He is hunting Swordsman. A burst of exclamations went up throughout the city. What's going on? The master of Heartless sect and the other protectors gathered and watched it with a terrible look on their faces. He just killed Man Yan, now Tan Feng came. Tan Feng is much stronger than Man Yan. The experts of Heartless sect were anxious for Jian Wushuang, but they did not have the strength to step in, so they could do nothing. Now, only Leng Rushuang could help Jian Wushuang, but she did not want to. "Elder sister, you really won't save Big Brother?" Leng Rushuang asked pathetically. He didn't want my help. Why should I save him? Leng Rushuang replied coldly. But Big Brother helped me. I owe him a favor, Leng Rushuang continued. That's you, not me, Leng Rushuang said. Elder sister. Leng Rushuang got angry. Fine, don't worry about him, Leng Rushuang glanced at her sister and said, I know he is not ordinary. Tan Feng might be stronger than him, but it isn't easy for him to kill your big brother. Oh. Leng Rushuang calmed herself down. Jian Wushuang ran quickly, so he immediately reached outside of the city. He also perceived Tan Feng behind him. The bald elder moved forward, emanating waves which spread out over a radius of hundreds of meters. Domain. Jian Wushuang was shocked. As for origin, enlightenment, momentum and domain were totally different. An expert who achieved domain would be much more powerful than the one who only reached momentum. His father, Jian Nantian, only had half-saint cultivation, but he could kill an expert of the saint realm with one stroke because he had reached domain and controlled it very well. Chapter 306, A Desperate Escape. Chapter 306, A Desperate Escape. Jian Wushuang was thinking about how to deal with the attacker. An expert of the Saint Realm, who has comprehended domain, is much stronger than Man Yen. Based on my strength, I can't have a head-on fight with him. He is much faster than me. It won't take long before he catches up with me. I can't escape. If I want to survive, there are still 3 options. Jian Wushuang was thinking quickly. First, he could turn to Leng Rushuang for help. Leng Rushuang was not far from him. As long as he promised to be her sister's guard, she would save him. The idea just flashed through his mind, but it was immediately overruled by him. Jian Wushuang could not make such a promise. Even though he may die, he was still unwilling to be her sister's guard and nanny for 5 years. Second, he could fight against Tan Feng using soul-devouring secret skill. He could perform the 2nd volume of soul-devouring secret skill. Then with his rising cultivation, he could fight Tan Feng, but he might still not win in the end. The third way would cost him too much, so Jian Wushuang did not want to do it, unless he had no way out. Now I have to fight to the death. Jian Wushuang thought, a hint of madness flashing through his eyes. Soul-devouring secret skill. In the blink of an eye, a blast of scary power erupted from his body. Jian Wushuang was still running away, while his body changed into a massive vortex, devouring everything from the surroundings. The natural power rushed toward him at an amazing speed. The ground below became dry and cracked, trees, grass, and flowers withered. With the help of this natural power, Jian Wushuang immediately improved his cultivation of spiritual power to its limit. Leng Rushuang was a bit surprised at his strength. A special tactic using natural power to improve cultivation. The half-saint realm. With red eyes, Jian Wushuang looked ferocious. He clenched his hands and felt a sharp pain caused by his soaring strength. When he was in the initial Yang Void Realm, he improved to the peak of the Yang Void Realm, after performing the 2nd volume of soul-devouring secret skill. Now he improved to the half-saint realm from the profound Yang Void Realm after performing it. With the half-saint cultivation and advantage of heavenly creation skill, Jian Wushuang's strength erupted. He might be a bit stronger than a real expert of the saint realm. Tan Feng. Jian Wushuang ground out, a hint of killing intent flashing in his eyes. He suddenly dashed toward Tan Feng, like a shooting star. He didn't run away. Tan Feng sneered. The waves emanating from him swept toward Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately felt as if he had fallen into mud. His body was suppressed, so it was harder for him to perform his swordsmanship. This is domain? Jian Wushuang thought secretly. Domain was powerful indeed. He was stuck in a domain, with 60% of his strength suppressed. Instantly, Jian Wushuang unleashed streaks of sword essence, which converged into a vast sea and swept out. Although it was incomparable to domain, it helped him reduce the restraint of the domain. Only 30% of his strength was suppressed. Very special tactic. It's a pity that it isn't strong enough. Tan Feng looked at Jian Wushuang and wore a faint smile. Jian Wushuang exuded his soaring killing intent, his triple-kill sword madly shaking in his hand. A towering phantom giant slowly emerged behind him and wielded his long sword. In an instant, everything trembled. Jian Wushuang performed his strongest move, the second move of blood-emptying technique. Tan Feng sneered. Then he struck a blow to slap at the sword shadow. Bang! The impact made Tan Feng take 3 steps back. Then he stabilized his stance. He could repel me. Tan Feng looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Jian Wushuang is young, but he can repel me with a head-on attack. If he practices more, he would be stronger than that. You're young but very powerful. If you fight with the experts of the Saint Realm, who has just mastered domain, you might defeat them. What a pity. You're fighting me, Tan Feng said coldly. He stretched his arm, with his palm upward. The surrounding waves began to gather in his palm. In an instant, the surrounding domain completely disappeared. The next moment, Tan Feng directly launched an attack. Jian Wushuang let out a snarl and swung his sword to block the palm, with the maximum origin of the world. But the result was... bang! A scary thump, like the thunderbolt, resounded through the sky. Then Jian Wushuang violently shot back like a bomb. He spat out a mouthful of blood and felt as if his viscera had deviated from its original place. He looked pale. Jian Wushuang tried hard to regain his balance. Then he turned around to escape without hesitation. Too strong. I've already performed soul-devouring secret skill and greatly improved my cultivation, but I'm still much weaker than him. The second confrontation made Jian Wushuang lose his morale. He had no choice but to escape. Since I can't fight against him in a head-on confrontation, I can only turn to the last way. Jian Wushuang thought. He was unwilling to use the last method because he would pay a high price for it. It was so big that he did not want to bear it. But now, he was on the edge of a precipice. No matter what price I will pay, it's much better than death. Jian Wushuang ground out, biting his lips. He thought he might survive, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Chapter 307, Jian Wushuang was killed. Chapter 307, Jian Wushuang was killed. Composed, Jian Wushuang had made up his mind. A cold voice rang out. Swordsman, are you going to fight to the death? Just to be my sister's guard for 5 years. It's much better than death. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang glanced at the voice behind, but he just snorted without stopping. Too stubborn. Leng Rushuang stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold look. Big brother, Leng Rushuang was worried. Jian Wushuang was chased by Tan Feng. Now they were already far away from Heartless City. Soon after, a lake appeared before Jian Wushuang's eyes. Jian Wushuang had once comprehended world origin by this lake, where he met Leng Rushuang and her sister. His eyes lit up. Then he jumped into the lake. Tan Feng was a bit surprised, but he immediately sneered. You think that I cannot attack you in the lake? Then Tan Feng casually launched an attack. His huge palm violently slapped against the surface of the lake. A large amount of water splashed out, causing the lake to lower its level. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang immediately flew up from the bottom of the lake. Still want to escape? Tan Feng's shout resounded through the whole area. He was less than 1,000 meters away from Jian Wushuang. They were so close that Jian Wushuang was immediately surrounded by the waves Tan Feng emanated. Shit! Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He was originally slower than Tan Feng. Now he was stuck in his domain. As a result, his speed decreased sharply so that Tan Feng almost caught up with him. Brat, go to hell. Tan Feng wore a scary smile while appearing in front of Jian Wushuang. He tried to directly slap Jian Wushuang's head with his deadwood-like hand. At this moment, Jian Wushuang seemed to go mad. He ate several elixirs, which could greatly improve his aura. Then he crazily swung his triple-kill sword to block it. Obviously, he was on the edge of a precipice and was struggling for survival. Want to fight back? Tan Feng sneered. He did not put Jian Wushuang in his eyes. In an instant, the power of domain gathered in his palm. Then, boom! 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 He struck 3 blows in quick succession, each of which contained the energy of splitting the heavens. His eyes filled with madness, Jian Wushuang tried his best to block, but he only deflected 2 strikes. He could only watch the 3rd blow relentlessly flash toward his head. Pang! The blow hit Jian Wushuang's forehead. As its power spread, his mouth, eyes, nose, and ears were bleeding. His breath disappeared in the blink of an eye. Eventually, the whole world went still. Tan Feng saw Jian Wushuang lie on the ground. He sneered. Then he waved his hand and took the body, interspatial ring, and the triple-kill sword away. Tan Feng used his blood to bind the ring to him and wanted to find out what Jian Wushuang held in the ring. Tan Feng was a little surprised. Then he grinned. Ha, the boy was quite rich and had so many treasures. That's right. He killed Man Yen and must have grabbed those things from him. Then Tan Feng looked at the triple-kill sword. He held it and immediately sensed a stream of powerful killing intent, while the sword was shaking madly as if it was about to leave. Good sword. I've recognized that his long sword is unusual. It's really powerful. It's a 2nd-grade magic weapon, the sword of killing. Tan Feng said with a flicker of delight in his eyes. A 2nd-grade magic weapon was much more precious than all the treasures in the interspatial ring. The superior 3rd-grade magic weapon Holy Emperor Palace promised to give him was not comparable to the triple-kill sword. If Holy Emperor Palace goes back on their word and doesn't offer me my reward, I will still have gained a lot with this sword. Tan Feng smiled. Suddenly, a surge of coldness covered the whole place, as if time had stopped. Tan Feng's expression froze. He tried his best to raise his head. A frosty woman in white, beautiful beyond description, was walking toward him. Leng Rushuang. Tan Feng was shocked. He was afraid of her from the bottom of his heart. It was terror indeed. It was true that he was very powerful in the whole Nanyang continent. Few people were his match. Even the strongest experts from some old sects were weaker than him. It seemed that he only held the 3 valleys and 4 temples, Alchemy School, and Holy Emperor Palace in awe. But Tan Feng thought that the white-clothed woman was more terrifying than the Alchemy School and Holy Emperor Palace. After all, as the super forces, the Alchemy School and Holy Emperor Palace had a lot of scruples, so they would not offend an expert of the Saint Realm who mastered domain. Instead, they would try to maintain a friendly relationship with him. As for Leng Rushuang, she only cared about her sister. Moreover, she was powerful, so she could kill anyone at will. Tan Feng recalled an expert who came from the Tianhe Valley and ranked 5th on the Bloodmoon list, a bit stronger than him. Leng Rushuang easily killed the expert without hesitation. At that time, Tianhe Valley originally wanted to take revenge for the expert. However, after a month, the Tianhe Valley changed their attitude and even apologized to Leng Rushuang. You killed him and have taken the interspatial ring, but you have to leave the sword, Leng Rushuang said coldly, with a cold look. Tan Feng's face changed. Sword. Triple-kill sword. It was a 2nd-grade magic weapon. After a while, Tan Feng let out a sigh and threw the triple-kill sword to Leng Rushuang. Since you want it, I can give it to you. Tan Feng did not dare to refuse. He feared that Leng Rushuang would kill him once he said, no. You can go. After she took the triple-kill sword, Leng Rushuang slightly withdrew her aura. Then time began to flow as usual. Chapter 308, The Decisive Jian Wushuang. Chapter 308, The Decisive Jian Wushuang. I will leave now, Tan Feng said while clasping his hands. He left directly. Leng Rushuang appeared in front of her elder sister and said angrily, Elder sister, didn't you say that big brother would not die? Did you lie to me? No, I didn't lie to you. Leng Rushuang shook her head and replied coldly, he is still alive, but he would have died if Tan Feng had stayed. Alive? Leng Rushuang was shocked, as she had just seen Tan Feng kill Jian Wushuang and take his body away. Come with me. Leng Rushuang did not explain and moved toward the lake. Leng Rushuang followed her sister. They appeared over the lake and looked downward. After a while, Jian Wushuang showed up in the lake. Big brother. Leng Rushuang could not believe it. Who was killed? It was his doppelganger. Leng Rushuang stared at the triple kill sword while saying, his tactic is unusual indeed. He can use the natural power and has a doppelganger. How powerful he is. We thought he planned to escape under cover of the lake. Actually, the moment he jumped into the lake, he himself was parted from the doppelganger. He also unbound the sword and interspatial ring. Then he let his doppelganger take them and appear before Tan Feng. He gave up his most important magic weapon and all his treasures in order to deceive Tan Feng. He let Tan Feng think that he was dead, so he could have a chance to survive. Like a phoenix, rising from the ashes. He is very decisive. It was known that Leng Rushuang had been as cold as frost. She was so powerful that few things could shock her, but she was surprised by what she saw today. Jian Wushuang was too decisive. In an instant, he gave up all his possessions, including his precious triple-kill sword, and quickly carried out his plan. An ordinary warrior might not be able to act decisively like him. Because of his decisiveness, he could save himself. If Jian Wushuang had not given up his triple-kill sword, Tan Feng would have wondered about the whereabouts of the triple-kill sword after he killed its owner. Tan Feng had recognized that the triple-kill sword was unusual, so he would not leave without it. Then he would go back to look for it and would find Jian Wushuang hiding at the bottom of the lake. Leng Rushuang said Jian Wushuang was resolute, because she saw his determination. She knew that Jian Wushuang would challenge Tan Feng again and take his triple-kill sword back if he could survive. It all came from his confidence in his own strength and talent. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was floating in the lake. He struggled to approach the shore. As soon as he reached the shore, he fell down and fainted. Although his doppelganger had independent consciousness, it was still connected to the true self. Once the doppelganger was killed, the true self would suffer a lot. Moreover, the second volume of soul-devouring secret skill he performed had placed a heavy burden on him. He himself was seriously injured in the fight with Tan Feng. Therefore, he had been on the edge of collapse. It was a miracle that he could hold on till now. Leng Rushuang and Leng Rushuang appeared by Jian Wushuang's side. Big brother. Leng Rushuang immediately stooped down and wanted to help him up. Leng Rushuang glanced at Jian Wushuang. Then she waved her hand, a blast of invisible power slowly lifting his body. Let's go. Bring him back to nature residence. Maybe we can save his life, Leng Rushuang said peacefully. Okay. Leng Rushuang did not refuse to return this time. Then she flew away with her elder sister. A larger number of warriors were waiting for the battle result in Heartless City. I wonder whether Protector Swordsman can escape from Tan Feng's hands. I think he could. Our Protector Swordsman has the battle strength of the Saint Realm. Maybe he could not fight against Tan Feng, but he is able to run for his life. I don't think so. You know, Tan Feng has mastered domain. He is much stronger than Man Yen. Many experts of the Heartless sect were waiting above the void. They originally wanted to follow Jian Wushuang and Tan Feng, but they did not have an opportunity, because Jian Wushuang and Tan Feng were too fast. Soon after, an old figure appeared before their eyes. He was Tan Feng. We know the result. They all looked at Tan Feng. Whoosh! The fat middle-aged man from Holy Emperor Palace appeared by Tan Feng's side and asked with a smile, "Sir, how did it go? Since I dealt with such a nobody personally, what do you think?" Tan Feng gave a faint smile. "You mean he is dead?" The middle-aged man's eyes lit up. Tan Feng did not explain. He waved his hand, the corpse of Jian Wushuang appearing in front of them. Many experts' face fell after watching this. In contrast, the middle-aged man became excited. He exclaimed, "Haha, Jian Wushuang, this is him indeed. This guy and his father posed a threat to our Holy Emperor Palace. Though his father is more dangerous, the boy has infinite potential. If given several years, he would catch up with his father. Now we have killed him." "Sir, thanks for your help," the middle-aged man said gratefully. "Don't forget the things you promised to me." Tan Feng smiled and looked at the middle-aged man. "Sir, don't worry. Our Holy Emperor Palace pays more attention to our reputation than those two things." The middle-aged man nodded in delight. The big news soon spread through the Skywave Prefecture. Swordsman, who had just taken the place of Man Yen, was killed by Tan Feng. It was believable because Tan Feng had displayed his corpse in front of many people. The whole Skywave Prefecture sighed with emotion for this peerless genius. The next day, the Bloodmoon list was renewed. The name of Swordsman was removed on the list, which also proved that Jian Wushuang was dead. Chapter 309, Nature Residence. Chapter 309, Nature Residence. This was a quiet bamboo forest. There was a lake deep in the forest. A delicate bamboo house stood by the lake. Jian Wushuang was lying on a bamboo bed in the house, while Leng Rushuang and Leng Rushuang stood by his side. Leng Rushuang glanced at Jian Wushuang. Then she slightly waved her hand. Instantly, a blast of white fog emerged and entered the young man's body through his pores. However, shortly after, the white fog was devoured by a great power in his body. "What?" Leng Rushuang said, a hint of shock flashing through her beautiful eyes. She was just a bit surprised at what Jian Wushuang did to save himself. Few things could make her surprised in the whole Nanyang continent. But now Leng Rushuang was stunned. "Elder sister, what's wrong?" Leng Rushuang looked toward her elder sister and asked. "My icy heart force was devoured by him," Leng Rushuang replied seriously. "How is it possible?" Leng Rushuang was petrified. She knew icy heart force was very powerful, so she could not believe it was devoured by someone. "I originally wanted to heal him using my icy heart force. I didn't expect that his spiritual power was so strong that it could suppress my icy heart force," Leng Rushuang said in a low voice. "It's his cultivation method, which is very special and powerful." "Powerful? Is your icy heart manual weaker than it?" Leng Rushuang asked in surprise. "I don't know." Leng Rushuang stared at Jian Wushuang. She had never cared about Jian Wushuang before, but now, she was somewhat curious about him. His cultivation method could devour my icy heart force. Then isn't he able to remove my icy heart poison, Leng Rushuang thought. Now she looked at Jian Wushuang with some expectation. Leng Rushuang said, "He is unusual. When we brought him back, he was dying. We didn't give him any elixir on the way home. Now he's much better than before. His healing ability is far superior to an ordinary warrior. He doesn't need any external assistance and should wake up soon. Big brother is so strong." Leng Rushuang said with a surprised look. Leng Rushuang glanced at her sister and said, "You stay here to look after him." Then Leng Rushuang left the house. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang eventually regained consciousness. He opened his eyes. The first person he saw was a red-robed girl. The girl was extremely beautiful and somewhat mischievous. She was looking at him with her sparkling big black eyes. "Big brother, are you okay?" The red-robed girl was worried and asked him. "You are Leng Rushuang?" Jian Wushuang looked at the red-robed girl in surprise. The red-robed girl was Leng Rushuang indeed. Previously, Leng Rushuang was scruffy and looked like a little beggar, but now, she was pretty. "Where am I?" Jian Wushuang looked around. He found himself in a bamboo room, with pieces of simple furniture made of bamboo. "This is nature residence, where my elder sister lives. You're lucky. After my sister built this house, you're the first one that has come here, except for me and my father," Leng Rushuang replied with a big smile. "Nature residence?" Jian Wushuang slowly sat up. The moment he moved, he immediately felt a sharp pain. His face was distorted. "Phew." Jian Wushuang breathed out deeply. "I'm seriously injured this time." He suffered a lot indeed. If he had been an ordinary warrior, he would have died already. He was stronger than an ordinary warrior, because his body was remolded with heavenly creation skill. The nature-defying cultivation method also helped him recover. "Big brother, let me take you for a walk," Leng Rushuang said. "My name is Jian Wushuang." "You can call me Big Brother Wushuang," Jian Wushuang said gently. "Okay, Big Brother Wushuang." Leng Rushuang smiled and supported him to walk outside. After stepping outside, Jian Wushuang looked around. Everything came into view. Suddenly, a sound of nature came out from the bamboo forest ahead. Jian Wushuang was surprised and immediately looked toward the source of the sound. He saw a beautiful white-clothed woman sitting under a curved tree by the lake. A Chinese zither carved with a dragon phoenix pattern was placed in front of her. She was plucking at the strings of it with her fair fingers. The mellow melody spread out. It sounded fantastic. It was as melodious as the sound of water drops falling into a pool in the deep mountain, and as pure as the bright moon which was not covered by clouds. It was wonderful. Jian Wushuang heard the melody. He stood there like a fool, but he felt a sense of calm as if the whole world was tranquil. A flow of invisible origin energy emanated from his body. Origin energy could shake the heaven and earth. In an instant, the whole area was full of origin energy. The origin energy was considered world origin. Jian Wushuang was absorbed in the melody, so he did not know what happened around him. He did not perceive that a large amount of world origin appeared and slowly spread out at this moment. After a while, world origin covered an area over a radius of 1,000 meters, including the whole bamboo forest. The world origin slowly combined with each other, forming a complete, powerful domain. Jian Wushuang quietly reached the second level of origin enlightenment, domain. The wonderful melody went on. Jian Wushuang lost his sense of time. It seemed transient, but he felt as if he had been there his whole life. Eventually, as the last note was heard, the beautiful melody stopped, but Jian Wushuang was still immersed in it. After a long period of time, he finally came to his senses and opened his eyes. When he found himself surrounded by domain, he immediately froze with shock. Chapter 310, The Incredible Melody. Chapter 310, The Incredible Melody. Domain? Shocked, Jian Wushuang stared at the origin domain that surrounded him. Using his will, he made the domain start to rapidly shrink, then suddenly expand. Finally, he made it fade away as he turned over his hand. It really is domain. I mastered it. But how could this be possible? Jian Wushuang couldn't believe that he really did it. He was quite excellent at comprehending the origin, but there was still a gap separating him and the origin domain. According to his thoughts, it would take him at least 1 year to master it. But now, inexplicably, he reached the domain realm without any effort in comprehending it. Not only had he comprehended the origin, he also had a large improvement in his cultivation. Exceptional Yang Void Realm. While clenching his hands, he could feel a surge of power from his improved cultivation, even though he was injured and could not use it at this moment. He made it to the exceptional Yang Void Realm from the profound Yang Void Realm. He had only recently made it to the profound Yang Void Realm, and at the moment he exited the room, he was definitely still in the profound Yang Void Realm. In only an instant, he had become much stronger. It had to be the melody. Yes, the melody. Jian Wushuang looked at Leng Rushuang with a serious face. He finally realized that it was the music that had helped him progress so much in such a short time. That music had such an incredible effect. Who is she really? His eyes were fixed on Leng Rushuang, but Jian Wushuang was not overjoyed by his progress. On the contrary, he felt an extreme horror that he had never felt before, a horror that almost felt like it would make his heart burst. It was so terrifying. She enhanced his strength so much, in a short while, with her music. What kind of method was this? How frightening was the person who played this melody? Jian Wushuang even thought that his adventures in the ancestors' land was nothing when compared with listening to this music. Ha, big brother Wushuang, how do you feel now? Leng Rushuang, who was standing next to him, looked at Jian Wushuang with a grin and said, "There is nothing more precious than the music my sister plays." Nothing more precious? Jian Wushuang secretly nodded. It was indeed precious. At least, Jian Wushuang had never heard of anyone who could enhance others' power by playing an instrument. Leng Rushuang put away the Chinese zither, then stood up and walked towards Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang felt a bit timid as he watched Leng Rushuang walk towards him. It was because she was frighteningly strong. The only thing he knew about her was from the introduction on the Bloodmoon list, which said that she was unfathomably strong with a mysterious background. Jian Wushuang had no idea of her strength until just now when he personally experienced it. It was far more than just frightening. She was unimaginably strong. You saved my younger sister before, and I saved you this time. We're even. You'll have a month to recover from your injuries here before you have to leave, said Leng Rushuang, shooting him a glance before going back to the room. Unbelievable. I never thought that sister would allow you to stay here for a month, Leng Rushuang oddly said. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He felt that even though Leng Rushuang was still indifferent to him, she was not holding herself aloft anymore. Big brother Wushuang, please stay here and recover over next month at ease. You can even listen to my sister's music when you're free. Others could never get such a chance. Leng Rushuang said and smiled. Jian Wushuang agreed with her. It was hard for him to walk now, since he was badly injured, let alone leave here by himself. Moreover, he didn't intend to leave now. He was so curious about the melody Leng Rushuang had played. The next day, Jian Wushuang had recovered a little bit. So, during the morning, he listened to Leng Rushuang play her Chinese zither again. The melody was rising and falling as if there was magic power in it. Though it was a new song, the moment he heard the sound, Jian Wushuang immediately found himself settling into a peaceful state that he had never felt before, and he could see the origin surrounding him more clearly, comprehend it more efficiently. Even with only Sword Soul, he could comprehend the origin at an amazing speed. Now, with help from the music as well, he was able to do it 100 times faster than before. 100 times faster. What did this mean? If he could continue comprehending like this, he would progress 100 times faster. It was unbelievable. More than that, he also gained spiritual power faster here, with the help, than he did outside. What a great opportunity. A chance like this is as important and helpful as the ancestors' land. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glittering. But I only have 1 month, so I should not waste a single day. After learning about the benefits of the music, Jian Wushuang did not miss any chance to listen to Leng Rushuang play. Sometimes, he even picked a piece of bamboo, using it like a sword, and practiced his sword skill while listening to the music. Leng Rushuang played the Chinese zither every day, and Jian Wushuang would listen to her every time. While she played, he listened or practiced his sword skills. From the beginning to the end, neither of them ever talked to each other. In a flash, 1 month had passed. Under the crooked tree, as the white-clothed girl suddenly stopped playing the Chinese zither, the melody that resounded through the bamboos slowly died away. Jian Wushuang, who had been practicing his swordsmanship in front of the girl, stopped as well. 1 month has passed. It's time for you to leave, the white-clothed girl said while looking at Jian Wushuang coldly. Time to leave. Jian Wushuang sighed and was a bit reluctant to leave. He had benefited a lot from the music, progressing incredibly and steadily during the past month. If possible, he really wanted to stay longer. But he could not. I've made great progress during the past month, so I should be satisfied, Jian Wushuang thought. Then he looked at Leng Rushuang and said, thanks so much for the past month. It was his heartfelt appreciation. Leng Rushuang had indeed helped him so much during the past month. Chapter 311, Upgrade, a first-grade magic weapon. Chapter 311, Upgrade, a first-grade magic weapon. You practiced your swordsmanship, I played my zither. There is nothing to thank me for. Glancing at Jian Wushuang, Leng Rushuang said in a cold voice, you should thank it. Leng Rushuang turned her hand over and a long sharp sword appeared. Triple kill sword. Once it appeared, Jian Wushuang stared at it. It was his weapon, so he certainly recognized it. To survive Tan Feng's chase, he had abandoned the triple kill sword and all of his belongings. He planned to take them back when he was strong enough to defeat Tan Feng. He didn't expect the triple kill sword to be in Leng Rushuang's possession. I took it back from Tan Feng for you. After saying that, Leng Rushuang threw it to Jian Wushuang. After catching it and gripping it firmly, Jian Wushuang began stroking the cold sword edge. At the same time, the triple kill sword seemed to be shaking violently, in a cheerful manner. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang's face changed, its power. After holding it, he felt that the triple kill sword's power had increased by a large margin. It was originally a medium second-grade magic weapon, but now it is a good sword. Since it's the embryo for a sword of killing, it still has room for improvement. Leng Rushuang glanced at Jian Wushuang and said, I noticed sword spirit was damaged when I took it back, so I restored its power using some special means and it upgraded. Now it is a first-grade magic weapon. She spoke like it was something simple, but Jian Wushuang was shocked when he heard what she said. First grade, a first-grade magic weapon. Feeling the power of the triple kill sword, Jian Wushuang was dumbstruck. Weapons are classified into 3 grades. The 3rd grade is normal, the 2nd grade is spiritual, while the 1st grade is masterful. On the Nanyang continent, even a 3rd-grade magic weapon is rare. Even experts of the Saint Realm would be eager to get one. The Holy Emperor Palace offered a superior 3rd-grade magic weapon as a reward for capturing Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian, which attracted a lot Saint Realm experts. There were only a few 2nd-grade magic weapons on the Nanyang continent. Only top sects like the Alchemy School and the Holy Emperor Palace might have them. As for 1st-grade magic weapons, they only existed in legends on the Nanyang continent. Even the Alchemy School or the Holy Emperor Palace might not have one. But now, Jian Wushuang's triple kill sword had upgraded to a 1st-grade magic weapon. Within only a month, Leng Rushuang had restored the triple kill sword's full power and even upgraded it to the 1st grade. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath, then he looked at Leng Rushuang earnestly. The longer he stayed with Leng Rushuang, the more unfathomable he felt she was. Whether it was the incredible melody she played that could speed up comprehension of origin and spiritual power, or her ability to upgrade the triple kill sword, both implied that Leng Rushuang had exceptional strength. He was curious about Leng Rushuang's background, but he knew better than to ask. Your sword had been upgraded to a powerful 1st-grade weapon, so you need to be careful. If it's not necessary, do not use it. Leng Rushuang's voice was still cold as she said, I will give you a sword. Although it is only a superior third-grade magic weapon, it's enough for daily use. Moving her hand again, a purple flowing light appeared. It was a purple long sword that resembled the triple kill sword in both shape and size. However, it was far less powerful. While looking at the purple long sword, Jian Wushuang thought it was strange. Not the purple long sword, but the person who gave it to him, Leng Rushuang. She has been giving him the cold shoulder from the very beginning. Yet now, she is suddenly treating him so well. Not only did she reclaim his triple kill sword and upgrade it, she also gave him another magic weapon. When did this lady, that causes everyone else to feel fear, become so nice? Though he was confused, he took a deep breath and said seriously, I owe you a favor. If you need my help someday, I will do my best. During this month of cultivation, he had improved a lot while listening to her play the zither. Now, she even gave him the triple kill sword and the purple long sword. Though he didn't know what she wanted, he still felt grateful. I do need your help, but not now. You are not strong enough yet. I will look for you once you meet the requirement. At that time, you will definitely help. After all, I rarely need help from others, Leng Rushuang said coldly. Sister, send him away. Leng Rushuang quickly walked out of the room. Big brother Wushuang, follow me, said Leng Rushuang as she led Jian Wushuang out. Jian Wushuang followed Leng Rushuang and walked out of the woods. Once they made it to the perimeter, Leng Rushuang took out a jade token and handed it to Jian Wushuang. Big brother Wushuang, take it. Maybe you will need it, Leng Rushuang said. What's this? Jian Wushuang looked at it curiously. He got along with Leng Rushuang during his month-long stay in the nature residence, so he had no longer had any prejudice or dissatisfaction with these sisters. You will understand, Leng Rushuang said and smiled. Jian Wushuang shrugged, then he folded his hands, bowed, and said, see you. Afterwards, Jian Wushuang quickly disappeared in the void out of the woods. Leng Rushuang returned to the woods and went to Leng Rushuang. Hee, sister, you played the nature melody for a whole month, and you even played the icy heart melody once. Many supreme experts have offered a high price, but they didn't even get to hear it once. Leng Rushuang smiled lightly, then asked in a joking voice, are you interested in him? You're thinking too much. Leng Rushuang glanced at Leng Rushuang and then coldly said, he has a special cultivation method that can devour my icy heart force. He is the first person to be able to do that. I might need his help to control the icy heart poison in my body one day. That's why I helped him. Chapter 312, Asura Secret Skill. Chapter 312, Asura Secret Skill. What Leng Rushuang said was true. She helped him because she might need his help one day in the future. It's total nonsense to think that she was interested in him. I did it for a reason. However, you stole our father's Asura secret skill and gave it to him. You thought I didn't know, didn't you? Leng Rushuang looked over at Leng Rushuang. Leng Rushuang stuck out her tongue. She did steal the jade token from her father and give it to Jian Wushuang. The Asura secret skill is powerful and tyrannical. He is only in the Yang Void realm, yet you gave it to him not knowing whether he will be able to use it. Leng Rushuang sighed and shook her head at her naughty sister. They were sisters, but their personalities were completely opposite. Leng Rushuang was as cold as frost and treated everyone coldly. Leng Rushuang was naturally lively and naughty. She was enthusiastic and dealt with people according to her feelings. Jian Wushuang helped her before, so Leng Rushuang treated him enthusiastically. Our father will finish his retreat soon, so you'd better stay here. Otherwise, once he returns and finds out about the trouble you caused, he will punish you, Leng Rushuang said. Leng Rushuang stuck her tongue out. Apparently she really did fear being scolded by her father. After leaving the nature residence, Jian Wushuang traveled at his fastest speed for half a day before he stopped and landed heavily on the ground below, with a surprised look on his face. "This feels great." Jian Wushuang was excited. A terrifying force surged through him as he clenched hands and released an attack towards the woods near him. Rumble, lots of trees were uprooted or broken. Such a terrifying force would be enough to defeat any half-saint and even many true Saint Realm experts. 1 month ago, when he was being chased by Feng, he had only been in the profound Yang Void Realm, and he had just made his breakthrough. With the help of the heavenly creation skill, his cultivation could reach the peak of the Yang Void Realm at most. However, after staying in the nature residence for 1 month and listening to the zither, he had improved immensely. Now his cultivation had reached the peak of the Yang Void Realm. His power had increased by 2 levels. Now that I'm at the peak of the Yang Void Realm, and since I cultivate the heavenly creation skill, my full power should be about the same as a Saint Realm expert. Jian Wushuang marveled at it. Leng Rushuang helped him a lot, and that help was not less than what he received in the ancestors' land. He kept it in mind. Jian Wushuang then took out the jade token which Leng Rushuang had given him. This jade token, Jian Wushuang looked at the jade token and focused as he began to examine it with his mind. Suddenly, a rush of information flowed from the jade token and into his mind. Asura secret skill? Jian Wushuang was stunned. He didn't expect to find a secret skill in it. On the Nanyang continent, cultivation methods and manuals were normally recorded in books. Many of the sword techniques Jian Wushuang learned were recorded in books. But this Asura secret skill was hidden in the jade token and the information was directly transferred to his mind. It reminded him of the heavenly creation skill. It was hidden in a gray bead. When the bead disappeared, information on the heavenly creation skill was instantly transferred into his mind, staying there forever. The Asura secret skill was the same, which showed that it was also an exceptional secret skill. Jian Wushuang immediately read through it carefully. Asura secret skill, a special attack skill that contained 3 moves. The first move, Road to the Underworld. The second move, Bridge of Helplessness. The third move, 18 Levels of Hell. All 3 moves were powerful. Even the first move required the user to be in the Saint Realm. The cultivation requirement is so high. Jian Wushuang was shocked. That was just a brief introduction. Jian Wushuang didn't really know how strong it was. But judging from the required cultivation level, Jian Wushuang could tell it wasn't weak. Only an expert in the Saint Realm was qualified to practice the first move. Jian Wushuang guessed that the Asura secret skill was a first-grade secret skill, or maybe even higher. Leng Rushuang really gave me something good. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Asura secret skill, the way of killing. It would perfect to use with slaughter origin. Normally, a warrior needs to reach the Saint Realm before practicing Road to the Underworld, but that might not be true for me. Jian Wushuang stayed in the plain and immediately began studying the first move of Asura's secret skill, Road to the Underworld. He had to admit that it was a profound technique. Even with Jian Wushuang's talent, it still took him 7 days to comprehend Road to the Underworld. Even the soul-devouring secret skill only took him several days. In a vast area somewhere, Jian Wushuang was standing quietly while looking forward. Suddenly, a terrifying killing intent radiated from his body. Asura secret skill, Road to the Underworld. A sudden and deep shout was heard as the terrifying killing intent was released. At the same time, a vast flow of spiritual power also rushed forward, gathering together to form a bloody river. A long blood river, like a road to the underworld, stretching 1,000 miles long. The blood river surged forward, cold and stifling. This is Road to the Underworld. Jian Wushuang looked at the blood river that was flowing in front him and was shocked by the power it released. He could tell that just the power radiating from the blood river was enough to easily kill experts at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. This blood river was much more powerful than his domain. As the owner of the blood river, while standing in it, he could release more battle strength. Not only that, the Blood River could be used along with domains. Domain. Immediately, an invisible wave origin energy spread out and a huge slaughter domain formed, overlapping with the Blood River. Chapter 313, It's Time for Revenge. Chapter 313, It's Time for Revenge. Sword Realm. Suddenly, sword essence erupted from Jian Wushuang's body, forming a horrifying sword realm, which superimposed with the Blood River. The combination of road to the underworld, slaughter domain, and sword sea. Rumble the bloody river surged up, in all directions, with a terrifying and overwhelming force. This, after feeling the power of the Blood River, even Jian Wushuang couldn't help shuddering with fear. What terrifying power! The power alone can prevent common Saint Realm experts from exerting even 1/10 of their power while trapped in the Blood River. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. But he also noticed that more than 1/2 of his spiritual power had already been consumed. He immediately stopped applying the road to the underworld out of fear. The surging Blood River slowly disappeared and the world became peaceful once again, leaving Jian Wushuang standing there with a sweaty forehead. The road to the underworld really is a secret art that exceeds first-grade techniques. Its power is very strong, but at the same time it consumes a huge amount of spiritual power, Jian Wushuang said to himself. He finally understood why this secret art had such a high cultivation requirement. Generally, it could only be reluctantly exerted by experts in the Saint Realm. That was because it consumed too much spiritual power. From the time he activated it until just now, which covered only a dozen breaths, more than half of Jian Wushuang's spiritual power had been consumed. If he continued to use it, his spiritual power would have been completely exhausted. Moreover, it was only because of the heavenly creation skill, which granted him 10 times more spiritual power than other experts at his rank, that he could sustain it for so long. If Jian Wushuang was just a common warrior at the peak of the Yang Void Realm, even consuming all of his spiritual power wouldn't be enough to display the road to the underworld. With my current spiritual power, if I do my best to exert the road to the underworld while combining it with the slaughter domain and the sword sea, I could sustain it for 20 breaths at most, Jian Wushuang told to himself. Just 20 breaths was too short. Since it consumes so much spiritual power, I'd better not use the road to the underworld unless it is completely necessary. In an ordinary fight, I should only depend on my domain and the sword sea. That should be enough. Jian Wushuang thought deeply. After all, I still have the triple kill sword. Jian Wushuang turned his palm upwards, and the triple kill sword appeared in his hand. After upgrading to a first-grade magic weapon, the triple skill sword radiated hostility that was several times stronger than before. Now, this sword in Jian Wushuang's hand was surging with a level of hostility that was hard to ignore. The triple skill sword is of too high a grade and too powerful, and it should be my trump card in the future. As for ordinary fights, the purple sky sword is enough. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was carrying a purple longsword on his back, the sword that was presented to him by Leng Rushuang. It was also a superior third-grade magic weapon, so it was strong enough to deal with most normal opponents or experts. The triple skill sword and the road to the underworld would become Jian Wushuang's trump cards in the future. Just like the soul-devouring secret skill, they were all trump cards. Now everything is ready. Next, it's time for revenge. Jian Wushuang's eyes became cold as killing intention surged through his heart. He was a man who believed in an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. He made sure to do things vigorously and effectively. Once it's time for revenge, never postpone. As for the Holy Emperor Palace, he had to tolerate them temporarily because he was not powerful enough. But Tan Feng. A month ago, that guy had chased him and wanted to kill him in such a horrible fashion. Now, Jian Wushuang's strength had increased, and the first thing he intended to do was to kill that guy. With my current strength, I'm confident I can kill him. Having made up his mind, Jian Wushuang immediately set off. Tan Feng, who ranked 9th on the Bloodmoon list, was quite famous in the Tang dynasty. Not only that, he was also the mansion master of the 9th Heaven Mansion, which was one of the 21 large prefectures in the Tang dynasty. Tan Feng was earnestly cultivating every day in the 9th Heaven Mansion, so it was very easy to locate him. After traveling for 3 days, Jian Wushuang arrived at the 9th Heaven Mansion, but his current appearance was different. A figure wearing a blood-red robe, a wicked blood-red mask, and carrying a long sword on his back, appeared at the void above the 9th Heaven Mansion. An overwhelming killing intent was radiating from the figure. Who is that? The incredibly killing intent caused a commotion inside the 9th Heaven Mansion. After which, one figure after another rushed into the sky. Among them, the leader was a brown-haired man carrying a giant axe on his back, whose cultivation had reached the half-saint level. Yet, the mansion master, Tan Feng, had not appeared. This man has such a strong killing intent. The brown-haired man carrying the giant axe looked at Jian Wushuang. After narrowing his eyes, the man asked, "Who are you?" "Nan," Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice. "Nan, number 36 at the Bloodmoon list?" The face of the brown-haired man slightly changed. Previously, when Jian Wushuang was earnestly cultivating inside the Heartless sect, Nan, his slaughtered doppelganger, had been roaming around the Tang dynasty and fighting. So, he had also become quite famous, ranking 36th on the Bloodmoon list. The brown-haired man, as well as the other experts in the 9th Heaven Mansion, had certainly heard of Nan. "Mr. Nan, why are you here at our 9th Heaven Mansion?" The brown-haired man asked coldly. "I come here for Tan Feng." "Bring him out." Jian Wushuang directly answered. The face of the brown-haired man changed at once. "Our mansion master is an important person. How dare you ask to see him?" Jian Wushuang's eyes were ice-cold as he glanced at the brown-haired man and said, in a low voice, "You just need to tell him that I'm here to claim his life." After hearing Jian Wushuang's word, the brown-haired man and the many experts of the 9th Heaven Mansion were immediately stunned. That brown-haired man instantly became enraged. "What a reckless bastard, where are you from? You dare to challenge our mansion master? Get lost!" With a furious shout, the thick giant axe appeared in his hand. Then, a harsh air-bursting sound was suddenly heard as a humongous axe shadow appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. An axe shadow, which seemed like a small mountain, rushed forward in an attempt to directly suppress Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang slightly raised his head and glanced at the mountainous axe shadow with cold eyes. Then, crack! The long sword was unsheathed and a flash of sword shadow instantly swept out. So fast. It was so fast that nobody there had seen the sword's path. After which, Jian Wushuang resheathed the purple long sword. He was still standing there with little movement. In front of him, the figure of the brown-haired man began to slowly descend. The brown-haired man's eyes were wide open and there was a very clear line of blood on his face, extending from the center of his eyebrows to his jaw. In the next instant, the cold corpse of the brown-haired man began falling towards the ground below. The experts from the 9th Heaven Mansion were stunned. A half-saint expert, who also ranked very high on the Bloodmoon list, was killed by a single sword move. After killing that brown-haired man, Jian Wushuang's eyes were still incredibly cold as he suddenly released a furious shout that echoed throughout the whole sky. "Tan Feng, come out!" Chapter 314, Fighting against Tan Feng once more. Chapter 314, Fighting against Tan Feng once more. "Come out! Come out!" Jian Wushuang's shout echoed throughout the whole area, causing astonishment and fear from the numerous nearby experts. Tan Feng, the mansion master of the 9th Heaven Mansion. He was the expert ranked 9th on the Bloodmoon list. Who dared to challenge him? In a very large secret chamber, inside the 9th Heaven Mansion, the old bald elder, Tan Feng, was surrounded by flashes of gale and thunderbolt. Whoosh! 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 Tan Feng's figure constantly moved around the secret chamber, forming flashes of gale and thunderbolt, with numerous shadows erupting outwards. Shortly after that, Tan Feng's figure condensed. No, it's not like this. Tan Feng slowly shook his head and exclaimed in his heart, no wonder the Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt is a superior second-grade manual. I have meticulously studied for 1 month, just to find that I have not yet grasped the primary technique. The Wrath of Gale and Thunderbolt was the superior second-grade manual the Holy Emperor Palace had given to Tan Feng after he killed Jian Wushuang. It is a manual related to a movement technique. But the superior second-grade manual was too profound. Although he had earnestly studied for 1 month, there was still a long way to go before he grasped it. Just then. Tan Feng, come out. Jian Wushuang's furious shout echoed throughout the area, so it was also heard in this secret chamber, which caused Tan Feng's expression to become gloomy. Whoosh! Suddenly, Tan Feng's figure appeared in the air above the 9th heaven mansion. Immediately, he noticed Jian Wushuang, who was wearing a blood-red robe and a wicked blood-red mask, standing in front of him. Meanwhile, he also saw the corpse of the brown-haired man below. What's wrong? Tan Feng glanced at an expert from the 9th heaven mansion beside him. He looked dignified rather than angry. Mansion Master, this man is Nan, ranked 36th on the Bloodmoon list. As soon as he arrived here, he said he was here to claim your life. Lord Longxing infuriated, so he tried to drive him away. But, instead, he was killed with a single sword move, an expert from the 9th heaven mansion said respectfully. What? Tan Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at Jian Wushuang. A man who is only at the peak of the Yang Void Realm boasted so much and even dared to kill one of my men. You really want to die? Tan Feng didn't waste any more words. An expert of the Saint Realm, especially a warrior like him, who had grasped a domain, would generally keep his dignity and wouldn't casually fight against weaker opponents, unless there was a huge benefit. But, if someone actively come and challenged him, the situation would be different. Little guy, go die. Tan Feng glanced at Jian Wushuang as he slowly reached out his hand. A rush of overwhelming force erupted from his fingertips, forming an invisible power that instantly rushed towards Jian Wushuang. With a cold face, Jian Wushuang waved his right hand and a similarly powerful force erupted. A suffocating sound was heard and then the two forces separated and disappeared. What? Tan Feng glanced at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. It's no wonder you were able to kill Longxing with a single sword move. It seems that you really are qualified to challenge the mansion masters. But it's a shame, you have chosen a wrong opponent. There are 21 mansions in the Tang dynasty, and also 21 mansion masters. Yet, you chose me. How stupid you are. You will know if I'm stupid once we fight, said Jian Wushuang. After which, he wasted no more words and began moving. Tens of meters were passed in an instant. Jian Wushuang stood in front of Tan Feng with the purple sky sword in his hand as a flash of sword light silently struck outwards. When the sword light appeared, the whole world began trembling. Momentum. You've even comprehended it to the limit and can activate its full strength? Tan Feng's expression changed, but he was still smiling as he said, however, it's still not enough. Tan Feng just stood there as streaks of invisible waves radiated from him. The invisible waves covered everything for nearly 1,000 meters, including Jian Wushuang. A great power immediately began suppressing him. 1 month ago when Jian Wushuang had been trapped in Tan Feng's domain, the result had been very bad, but now. Streaks of waves also erupted from Jian Wushuang's body, containing an incredible killing intention that crazily spread out and instantly formed a slaughter domain. Domain? Tan Feng began to feel astonished. He had never thought Nan, who was wearing a wicked blood-red mask in front of him, could have comprehended a domain while only at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Both of them had comprehended a domain. Both domains crazily suppressed the enemy, so they were in a deadlock for some time, with neither one of them being able to defeat the other. You really do have some ability. It's a shame though, you are still just a joke in front of me, Feng said with a sneer, then he finally began to move. With only a single stride, he appeared in front of the flash of sword light. His palm, which looked like withered wood, slowly struck out. In that instant, the domain he had spread began to shrink at incredible speed. And then, the power of the whole domain gathered into his palm. Boom! The force from the sharp palm shattered the space and crashed head-on against the sword light from Jian Wushuang. Peng! Thump! Jian Wushuang was immediately forced to retreat nearly 100 meters before he could regain his balance. Stage 2 Domain. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Even for the same domain, the level of comprehension could be different. Momentum only required 1/10 of the origin to be activated. Yet, activating 9/10 or the full power of an origin would still be called momentum. However, their strengths were definitely different. This was also true with domains. Domains had 3 levels. The first level was what Jian Wushuang had used. A domain that could spread out and suppress the opponent. The second level required gathering all the power of the domain to one point and then endowing every move with the power of that domain. As for the third level, it required extreme comprehension of the domain. A single thought was enough for the domain to forcefully suppress the opponent's spirit and consciousness. That was really horrifying. His father, Jian Nantian, was at that level. He could kill an expert of the Saint Realm with a single sword move by activating his domain, only because he had comprehended the domain to such a high level. Stage 2 Domain. His every posture and movement carries the power of his domain. If I do not use my trump cards, it will be very hard to kill him. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He had an idea. In this case, let me directly use my trump cards and slaughter him. Jian Wushuang's eyes became cold. In the next instant, a blast of unprecedented killing intent abruptly erupted from his body. Meanwhile, vast spiritual power began to surge. Asura's secret skill, Road to the Underworld. With a low shout, a rolling killing intent and vast spiritual power radiated from his body, directly transforming into a blood river, silently rolling and surging. Gradually, streaks blood-red fog began to float by, like flickering ghost shadows. This blood river appeared just like a road to the underworld. The blood river had covered the entire area, with Jian Wushuang and Feng standing at the center of it. The loss of spiritual power is very rapid. My spiritual power will be exhausted in only 20 breaths. Feeling the fast consumption of spiritual power inside his body, Jian Wushuang turned up his hand and the triple kill sword appeared. His eyes were so cold that he looked like a death Shura. 20 breaths is long enough to kill him. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.